Testing one, two. All right, here we go. All right, everybody, welcome to Cool Beans Hot Stuff. Today is Conspiracy Theory Thursdays, which means obviously I'm going to uncover some grand conspiracy and blow your fucking minds. Going to find the Illuminati today. Probably not. No, I'm still working on the Conspiracy Theory Thursdays. These days are certainly a work in progress. I'm still looking for good conspiracy theory sources, good YouTube channels. I'm going to be doing more of that next week when I take a break. I'm going to be, what's the word I'm looking for? I'm going to be finding and, let's just say collecting. I'm going to be collecting as many good quality resources for conspiracy theories as I possibly can. So when I sit down to make these videos, I have sources that I can immediately go to that are just going to give me like basic facts, right? And that's more difficult than it sounds on the internet. It really is. It's really difficult to find a single source on any conspiracy theory that doesn't immediately just want to disprove it, right? Is it really? Do you know what that Illuminati sign is there, cutie? Oh, really? What's the Illuminati sign? I mean, I wish it were that easy. If it were that easy, I would sign those motherfuckers right here. That's what I would do. A bunch of different signs, huh? Interesting. I mean, I've heard of Illuminati signs on like dollar bills and things like that. I've heard of that for certain. But I don't know. You mean like gang signs? Do you throw gang signs up in the air and the Illuminati comes and gets you? Hey, Ruby, what's going on? Oh, I'm doing good. How are you doing? Yeah. Oh, that's what you mean. You mean gang signs. Okay. Throw up the gang signs. Well, you and me are going to have to sit down after the stream and look into these Illuminati gang signs. That's what we're going to have to do. So, see if we can't get famous off of that. Well, I actually don't get on my Discord very often. Or my Instagram. I don't do a whole lot of social media. Honestly, about the easiest way for you to get a hold of me, Ruby, is on my stream. That's really it, unfortunately. I'm still getting into the habit of doing social media, right? Like, I don't do a lot of social media. In fact, I completely discounted all social media, gosh, probably 5, 6, 7 years ago. Like, I got it all out of my life and system, shut down every Twitter, Twatter, this, that, or the other thing that I was ever a part of, got out of all of it completely and just restarted all of it. So if you look on any of my social medias, for everybody watching too, on YouTube, if you go to try to click on any Cool Beans Hot Stuff social medias, it's like 5 followers. I'm like following 5 people, that's it. Like, I don't have a lot of followers on there because I'm still figuring it out. I'm still getting back into the swing of social media, so it is difficult to get a hold of me on social media. Yeah, I'll do that probably after the stream. I'll check the Discord and say what's up. Did you see my message last stream in the chat? Because I came in last stream, I think it was like 2 or 3 minutes before I actually jumped in and started streaming. I seen you were in the chat and I popped in there and replied to you. But I never saw you pop back in. So I wasn't sure. Maybe you popped out of the stream before you saw my message. I'll resend it to you though on Discord. I'll do it after the stream. Yeah, I didn't hit you up on Discord the night after we talked because, well, I forgot what happened that night. Something happened that night, and then I never did get on it again and forgot about it. Sounds good. Okay, well, thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah, no, this is going to be a pretty easy stream today. It's I don't have a whole lot of sources, like I was kind of saying. Conspiracy theory Thursdays, don't have a lot of sources right now. Next week, I'm taking a break from streaming to really get a whole lot of good quality sources for Conspiracy Theory Thursdays and hopefully make these days more enjoyable for all of you that are watching. So today's going to be a pretty short stream. So after the stream, I'll absolutely hit you up on Discord, Ruby, for sure. And then, because I think you probably missed yesterday's message, so I'll resend that message. And but yeah, either way, I'll hit you up. So I appreciate you coming in though and saying hi and reminding me too. You know, if you want to come back in to the stream around like 9ish and remind me so I don't forget, that would be helpful too. But I can write it down too, just so I remember not to I don't forget this. So let me write it down real quick. Okay. Sounds good. Okay, I'll be sure to hit you up, Ruby. So thank you. I appreciate that. Hope you're having a good day too, by the way. Thanks for hopping into the stream again, too. I really appreciate it. So yeah, anyways, here, let me throw this back up here for a minute. Okay, so today on Conspiracy Theory Thursdays, we're going to jump into what has always been kind of one of my favorite conspiracy theories, because I'll be honest, I'm not a huge conspiracy theorist, right? I don't dive too deeply in this sort of thing, which is another reason why these days are a little bit more difficult for me to put together, because a lot of these conspiracy theories are brand spanking new to me. I've never heard of most of them, so when I get into attempting to research them, it's all brand new shit I'm hearing, right? And I don't know who is being honest or not until I spend a lot of fucking time diving into them, right? You know what I'm saying? So this one, though, this conspiracy theory, if you didn't see the title of the video, obviously you did. You're here because you thought it was interesting. This has always been a conspiracy theory that I always, I guess, enjoyed looking into and thought was fun. I don't know if fun is the right word, because we are talking about a person dying, and this was a pretty impactful person to rap music. I guess I always enjoyed this conspiracy theory, or heard about it very constantly and enjoyed hearing people talk about it. I knew a lot about this conspiracy theory because I worked in recording studios for about 8, 9 years. Rap and hip hop recording studios, mostly across 3 different major cities, too. So, Denver, Los Angeles, and Phoenix. Worked in all 3 of those major cities doing hip hop and rap. And so you are bound to run by this conspiracy theory in a hip hop studio. It's going to happen. At some point, you are going to get multiple fans of Tupac into your recording studio if you're recording rap, and they are absolutely, a handful of them, some percentage of them are going to believe, no, bro, Tupac is still alive. So since I've looked into the conspiracy theory, a whole bunch of different stuff has happened. And there's a lot more conspiracy theories to add to the conspiracy theory. Now there's numerous different places Tupac could potentially be hiding under. He might be under your bed. He might be under that rock over there. He might be an honorary member of the Navajo tribe. I'm not making that last one up. That's a thing. So yeah, there's a whole bunch of different possibilities nowadays, and some information in his case too that isn't super new. It's not like yesterday's news, right? It's a little bit old, but in case you haven't heard about it, I hadn't heard about it. For some reason, it didn't make super big news. So I get to tell you about it today. We get to sit and talk about it, and I'll get to give you some new information that came out in his case if you haven't heard of it. So, yeah, that's what we're going to go over today. I'm going to give you the whole conspiracy theory on where Tupac could potentially be if he hasn't passed away, and what a whole bunch of different people are saying about that. What all the different hypothesi. Is that the plural of hypothesis? Hypotheses. That's it. Hypotheses. I'm getting a lot of pop. There it is. Yeah. A lot of pop in this microphone today. Let me put my pop filter on. Okay. There we go. Pop. Oh, look at that. Took it right out. C's. Thank you, cutie pie. Good on you. Always backing me up here, making sure I don't look too stupid on stream. All right. So, yeah, anyways, to anybody, I think you got it right. We're going to say you got it right. And if you didn't, then I can blame it on you. It sounds right. Yeah, hypotheses sounds correct to me. Yes, it does. So, sounds like you got it to me, cutie pie. I'm going to have your back and say that's the correct way to say it. But we ain't scientists. What the fuck do we know, right? Anyways, I'm going to go ahead and where was I? Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah. So, anybody who sees this on YouTube, if you're watching, thank you for tuning in. That's already on you. I already put it on you, cutie pie. Shit's been on you. So, if I look like an idiot, got the chat up right there. We all know who to blame. Just kidding, hot stuff. No, I'm pretty sure you're right. You're right. You are. You're always right. So every time you correct me, it seems like you're right. So I've just accepted it. I've learned to accept these things. So to anybody who's watching on YouTube, thanks for tuning in. If you enjoyed today's content, please give the channel a like and subscribe. Give the video a like, subscribe to the channel maybe. Really helps to get my videos out there so other people who might like this information can find it. And I really appreciate that. Also, keep on a lookout for some of my short content. Next week, I'm going to be cutting up all of my content so it's much shorter form. We're talking like 15-minute videos instead of 2-hour videos. I'm going to still have 2-hour videos for people who enjoy long form content, but I'm going to be cutting it up into 10, 15-minute segments. So keep an eye out for that. And if you enjoy conspiracy theory orientated stuff, check out all the other videos that I have on my channel. As of the recording of this video, they're all long form content, 2-hour long videos, more or less, on certain conspiracy theories. Some of them are better than others. I'll tell you, last week's video, the Denver International Airport conspiracies, that was a load of fun. That was a fun fucking video to make. So definitely check that video out if you enjoy conspiracy theories. There was another one in there. Oh, Nick Cage is a vampire. That was a lot of fun. So go check that one out. That's a lot of very entertaining stream. So yeah, you can go check some of that out. To anybody who is watching this stream live, thank you for watching. I really appreciate your support. And I hope you have a good time. And if you feel so inclined to jump into the chat and sit and bullshit with me, it's always funner to sit and talk with somebody while I'm streaming. So I got my cutie pie here always. Keeps me going, gives me somebody fun to talk to, but always looking for different people, right? So jump in if you feel like it. In the meantime, we're gonna go ahead and just jump start into this. Who was Tupac Shakur, right? That's where we're gonna start. We're gonna start with the basics. So we're going to start with the basics. Who is Tupac Shakur? Well, most people already know who he is. He was a rapper, right? One of the top selling artists of all time. I believe as of right now, I think he's number 45, the 45th highest selling artist in the history of the world, which is pretty incredible considering he only made 4 albums while he was alive. Tupac was more than just a rapper, obviously. To most people who know, Tupac was like the rapper's rapper, man. He is easy on everybody's top 3 greatest rappers that ever lived list. Most people, a lot of people would put him at number 1, and you would have a hard time disagreeing with most of them. It's not necessarily a skill thing, although Tupac was incredibly skilled at rapping. It was one of those, he was there at the perfect time. He was the perfect person for the perfect time. Some artists and musicians, again, this is the Studio Tony talking here. You're going to see a lot of musicians that come out that served as a zeitgeist. They served as a conduit for this current cultural zeitgeist, right? So they almost perfectly embody everything that's happening in, say, American culture at the moment that they become famous. A big part of the reason why they become famous is because people, specifically young people, because that's the main demographic that the music industry sells to, young people feel like their struggles, their ideals, their beliefs are being accurately and perfectly represented by a particular artist. Good examples of this would obviously be Elvis Presley, Michael Jackson. Eminem is another one in the rap industry for certain. Right now, Kendrick Lamar is hitting that pretty hard in the rap industry, is doing a pretty good job of that. On a band level, Nirvana, Metallica, there's a whole bunch of different examples, but all of these people captured cultural zeitgeist at the moment, cultural movements, and capturing Jimi Hendrix, Bob Dylan. You just had a whole Elton John. Okay, so there's a whole slew of them right there. Britney Spears, Taylor Swift. Okay, so tons of good examples right there. All of these artists, these musicians, captured some aspect of the culture. Lil Wayne, got to throw that out there. I got to stop. I'm just going to keep throwing examples out there. Anyways, all of these musicians coveted a specific aspect of the culture that they perfectly embodied it, and embodying it and representing it the way that the people in that culture felt like they were being accurately represented, they made themselves a sort of poster child for that movement, and they earned lifelong fans because of it. They became the artists of a generation. Now, in most of those cases that I just mentioned, it's pretty common for an artist to last for maybe a decade, 2 decades, being the artist of a particular generation, unless their career is unfortunately cut short, like Mr. Pac here. But in most cases, if that doesn't happen, at the least they can last a good solid decade. Sometimes they have a heavy falling out afterwards. Sometimes they can squeeze it to 2 decades. It's very, very rare to see a musician that can last multiple decades, and even more rare and almost, I dare say, unheard of to have a musician that is continuing to embody a cultural zeitgeist after they've passed away. Michael Jackson always sold heavy hits even after he passed away. He was still selling music, and he still is to this day. The Beatles is still selling music to this day. They never stopped selling their songs, right? But they're not in the top 10 anymore. They've been long out of the top 10. They've been long out of the top 20. Tupac Shakur has continuously been in the top 5, 10 selling rap musicians, regardless of what the year was. And this included after his death. His image, who he was as a person and a rapper, and the music he made continued to serve as a zeitgeist for a massive culture, a massive component of American culture for well over, we're going on 3 decades, and long past his untimely and unfortunate demise. And that is what, for most people, I think that's a very good, heavy case for putting him as Mr. Numero Uno on the greatest rappers list. So, one of the top selling artists of all time, rapper and actor Tupac Shakur, embodied the 1990s gangster rap aesthetic, and in death has become an icon symbolizing noble struggle. Tupac began his music career as a rebel with a cause to articulate the still relevant travails and injustices endured by many black Americans. The boundaries between his art and life became increasingly blurred as Tupac Shakur faced legal problems and jail time. On his fourth album, All Eyes on Me, Pac leaned fully into celebrating the thug lifestyle. It was the last album Tupac would live to see released. On September 7th, 1996, the 25-year-old was gunned down in Las Vegas and died 6 days later. So, quick facts there. Tupac Amaru Shakur, only 25 years old when he passed away. And he was a Gemini, for all you astronomers out there. And this article here goes through his rise of fame, his legal troubles, things like that. We're not going to dive too deep into that. I can give you the rough and skivvy of it. He was released. He's a New York rapper. A lot of people, well, I know why, but a lot of people are, especially nowadays, younger generations, get confused and think that Tupac was a West Coast rapper because he landed on the West Coast side of the East Coast, West Coast beef back in the 90s. And that's not how he started. Now, how he started was a New York rapper. And he was in the same day and age as, obviously, Biggie, Puff Daddy, Nas, Jay-Z were coming up. I mean, LL Cool J was already a big staple. There was a lot of big names in the New York scene. You have the old school legendaries like MC Shan, Boogie Down Productions, KRS-One. They're already long on their way by the time, and there's plenty of others too whose names I'm forgetting at the moment, but they're already well on their way by the time Tupac came around. But he was in that scene. He was coming up in that scene in New York. Dropped his first album, Tupacalypse Now. Did pretty good. It dropped his next album, this guy right here. We'll call it Strictly. And then he dropped Me Against the World. When Me Against the World dropped, in between Strictly and Me Against the World, he had some legal issues. He had a gunfight with cops. Oh, yeah, no joke. When people want to talk about, again, when I say like rappers that embodied a specific culture, when you want to talk about gangster rap, there's a short list of that. There's a whole lot of rappers who attempt to embody the gangster rap lifestyle. Again, I worked in recording studios for 8, 9 years, right? And mostly recorded hip hop, lots of gangster rap. I can tell you, and then recorded a little country too, funny enough. Particularly in the last 2 years of my recording engineer career, I recorded more country and was around more country musicians. And there's a very funny and hilarious similarity between country music and hip hop. There's a lot of similarities. They're almost polar opposites, but I have my own philosophy that in order for two things to be considered polar opposites, they have to have their most important characteristics in common, right? So cold is not the opposite of up because up is a direction, cold is a temperature. They don't have nothing to do with each other. Cold is the opposite of hot because they both share that all important characteristic that they're temperatures, right? Up is the opposite of down because they're both directions. And that's the most important and defining aspect of both opposites, right? So culture, excuse me, country and hip hop music have a very interesting dynamic where they are polar opposites in a lot of various ways. Country music is an overwhelmingly ran, white overrun form of music. There's very few black artists in it, and hip hop is an overwhelmingly black orientated music. The majority of artists in it are black. They Hip hop comes from the city. It was literally born in the inner city. That's where it comes from, is inner city America. It is one of the handfuls of truly purely made in America music, which makes it one of a handful of musical styles and musical genres that are truly American, baby. I mean, there's rap all over the world now, but it started here and it started in inner cities in places like New York and Los Angeles, right? Chicago. And country music started obviously in rural areas out in the country, right? So they're polar opposites in a lot of ways, but they share some in a lot of ways, but they share some very important distinctions in common, right? Or they have certain commonalities to them. Like there's a common thread between them both. There's many of them. One of them is that, in my experience and in the experience of a lot of people who've worked in the music industry, about 90% of the musicians are fake. And I don't mean that to diss them. If this isn't like a thing where I'm like calling them out or whatever, but it's just a reality, man. The majority of gangster rappers are not gangsters. You can tell when you meet a real gangster rapper, and 9 times out of 10, it's because they suck at rapping. They suck at rapping because they spend most of their time shooting at people and punking crack, right? So they're on the street corners doing work. They don't have time to sit and practice rapping in a studio. You'll get rappers that come in and talk about gangster shit, but you know that they're not gangster because they spend a lot of time doing rap. They spend more time rapping than they do punking crack. They might still come from a really hard area of the world. They might still come from a really tough neighborhood, but there's a difference between coming from a tough neighborhood and being a tough guy. When it comes to rappers who embodied gangster rap music and did it truthfully, honestly, because it really was who they are, there's a short list. And there's a lot of names that people could throw up. I imagine a large portion of those names, you would be very surprised to find out that that probably isn't as true as you think it is, right? I'm not going to go diving deep into it. I don't know if anybody wants to hear that. So that's not the point of this stream. But Tupac is one of them. Tupac is one, at least going into his rap career. Before Tupac was into rap, it's debatable whether or not he was actually gangbanging or a gangbanger. There's a lot of different reasons for that. We're not going to get into it because it always pisses off super big Tupac fans when you start talking about his time in art school and things like that. They don't like to hear about it for some reason. But realistically, once he got into rap, he very much embraced the gangster lifestyle. And yeah, that inevitably ended with him getting in a shootout with fucking cops, for fuck's sakes. Can't think of anything more gangster rap than that. So he shot 2 cops in a shootout. It was proclaimed self-defense. Very quickly after that, he did go to prison. I believe 18 months, was it? He spent in prison for sexual assault. You don't really want to spend a lot of time talking about that neither when you get hardcore Pac fans in the room, because they'll get pretty pissed pretty quickly. That'll turn into a whole thing. And then inevitably he ended up getting shot. He got shot after he went to prison after he got shot. Got in a gunfight with cops. After that, he got shot in I believe it was the lobby of Quad Quad record labels in New York. He got shot in the lobby 5 times. And then after that went to prison. And then while he was in prison, released Me Against the World, which was massive. And that's when, while he's in prison, doesn't have a record deal, is hurting for some money, dropped this last big album, Death Row Records comes into place, sweeps him up, Gets out of prison, goes out to Cali with Dre and Snoop and Suge and the legendary Death Row crew, baby. And they go to work recording All Eyes on Me and a whole crap ton. I mean, Tupac just went ape shit when he got out of prison and recorded so much music, but put some of the best tracks on All Eyes on Me. And then that's when he was officially a West Coast rapper. When the West Coast East Coast beef started, he was firmly on the West Coast side with Death Row. So that's the skivvy of it. Inevitably, this East Coast West Coast beef turns into a Pac versus Biggie Smalls beef. That beef gets incredibly heated with the diss track Hit Me Up, which is widely considered by most people to be one of the best diss tracks that ever happened in the history of rap music. I would say that probably, again, very accurate statement. I don't know if I would put it as my number one favorite diss track, but if somebody told me that they did, I probably wouldn't argue with them. There's a lot of reason for, a lot of logic behind putting that as the best diss track that ever existed. But yeah, he made a diss against Biggie, had a few romantic relationships. A lot of people were surprised to know that Tupac actually dated Madonna for a while. He also, and everybody knows because she never stops fucking talking about it, Jada Pinkett Smith dated him for a while. That's like the most amazing thing she ever did in her life, if you ask her. And then on September 17th, 1996, at only 25 years old, in Las Vegas, he was gunned down in his car with Suge Knight at an intersection. Suge Knight was not killed. I believe he was wounded with potentially a bullet or shrapnel. That I forget which. I think claims differ. But something hit him in the head, and it obviously took a big chunk of flesh out of his head. But Tupac was the main target. He was shot and unfortunately killed after going to see a Mike Tyson fight with Suge Knight. So, and started a murder investigation where nobody was arrested. There was definitely suspects that suspects that people were looking at. Yeah. Oh, yeah. There you go. Yeah. I was wondering if that was. Oh, that is interesting. Let me throw that up in the chat. This is an interesting conversation. See, this is. So, yeah. You said, "Oh my God, I heard about that one, Jada Pinkett Smith." That one was kind of annoying when she came out saying it. I feel like that's what ruined her. It certainly helped with the ruining for sure. I don't know how ruined she is. I think she got ruined when she came out proclaiming that, her daughter had written a letter to Tupac posthumously, ask wishing that he never broke up with her mother. And then of course that's Will Smith's daughter that did that. That just made everybody in the family look like shit. And then it was the Red Table. That's what undid Jada Pinkett Smith, was the Red Table. Jada Pinkett Smith started that internet, I don't know if it was YouTube or whatever, but the internet series called The Red Table. Yeah, where she would sit and air out all of her family drama like some kind of like Kim Kardashian bullshit. But the shit she aired out in front of people, yeah, that's where she came out saying it on the Red Table. Yeah, well, the shit she aired out on the Red Table, that's certainly one of them. You're not wrong. That was definitely, in my opinion, probably one of the things that annoyed people about Jada Pinkett Smith and upset people about her. Also, was coming right out and saying, "I fucked one of my son's best friends and cheated on you," and telling her husband that, and then trying to turn it into a thing where we need to have a conversation on why I felt like I had to do that. That was the thing, is she put a lot of that blame on Will Smith. And in the meantime, Will Smith was literally sitting there on camera crying, tears in his eyes, when she tells him that she cheated on him. And she's talking about how we need to talk about your role in this. My role in this, it doesn't matter what my fucking role is in this. You cheated. That's it. Plain and simple. That's it. Okay, like you could have, if I did anything, you could have divorced me, but you didn't. You decided to cheat. And this isn't some, he was beating her, so she tried to get him back. No, you straight up fucked one of your friends, one of your son's best friends, a rapper, and then try to pin it on like Will Smith. It was really pathetic, really gross. Most people don't like that kind of behavior. They don't. And then, of course, came a lot of other family drama that she aired out on the Red Table. That was just, it made her and Will Smith, it brought them both down so heavily. And then came the Chris Rock slap, right? Will Smith stepping out, slapping Chris Rock in the name of his wife because he was making fun of her for having alopecia at the Oscars. And yeah, that ultimately ended up bringing Will Smith's career and Jada Pinkett Smith's career to where it is today, right? And the Oscar slap, if you haven't seen it, yeah, that's it. Keep my wife's name out your fucking mouth. That shit's a meme nowadays. Oh no, poor Will made himself into a meme with that. Well, him and Jada very much made him into a meme. Jada certainly helped in making Will Smith a meme, which is crazy because when you think of like the kind of actor and how big of a cultural force Will Smith was back in the 90s, like that dude was insane in the 90s and early 2000s. Everybody fucking loved Will Smith. Anybody that tries to tell you nowadays that they didn't love Will Smith, they're fucking lying to you. In the 90s and 2000s, everybody loved Will Smith. Now nobody likes Will Smith. Nobody likes Will Smith. Nobody likes Jada and Will Smith. Will Smith, it's not all on Jada. It's on him too. No human being, man or woman in their right mind, would ever choose to sit down in front of millions of people and air out that kind of laundry with their spouse after being cheated on. Nobody in their right mind would ever do that. I would never do that. I would never expect you to do that. I would never expect man or woman to do that. That would be obscene. Be like, what the fuck, you kidding me? Like, you cheated on me and now you want to talk about it in front of millions of people? While I'm over here like breaking down over it because you fucked me up? Like, no, bitch. Like, no way. Whoever it is that, man, woman, you're a piece of shit for doing that. So it took them both down hardcore. But it was mutual self-destruction. They helped destroy each other and themselves. And now nobody really wants to hear anything from either of them. You know what I mean? So anyways, good talk. Good talk. I'm glad you brought that up. Good point, Cutie Pie. That was entertaining to talk about. So yeah, that's Jade. So as you know, yeah, Jada, Tupac dated Jada for a while. I don't know how long either, to be perfectly honest with you. I never looked into it. But yeah, it was a big deal to her. I don't know if it was that big of a deal to Pac, but it was definitely a big deal to her, right? So, any case, Tupac passed away, was shot and killed horribly. Yeah, allegedly. And he, let's see, where was I at there? Yeah, Tupac was shot and killed, and after the Mike Tyson show, and there was an investigation. The investigation turned up suspects, but not a whole lot. Nobody was really arrested in the way of who killed Tupac, right? And then it became, well, it became a mystery that unraveled a whole bunch of conspiracy theories. Later on, unfortunately, Biggie Smalls was also murdered. And a whole lot of conspiracy theories have been unraveling because of both their murders, right? Well, we're not going to dive too deep into like the who killed Pac conspiracy theories, because if we go, let's see, over here, no, over here, yep. If we go to a list of all the conspiracy theories, we got Suge Knight masterminded the hits on both Pac and Biggie. We got Biggie Smalls was set up by Baby Lane Anderson. We got a whole bunch of conspiracy theories. The CIA killed Biggie, or killed Tupac at least. Whole lot of conspiracy theories on who actually killed Tupac. We got some information on that nowadays. Spoiler alert, the guy who supposedly killed Tupac was actually arrested in 2024. I believe he admitted to it too. So we're actually going to look into that at the end of the stream. But for now, suffice to say, we're going to just look into the conspiracy theories on whether or not Pac is still alive. Those are the fun ones. That's the entertaining ones, because there's a whole bunch of people who have thrown out a whole bunch of shit about it. So we're going to look into that. But before we do, just to throw out, give you more of a picture on how big of a artist Tupac was. There's his first record right there. The stats for that, almost 1 million sold in the USA, just under being platinum. Second one, Strictly, is platinum at 1.6 million. Me Against the World goes double platinum at 3.5 million. All Eyes on Me, platinum times 10. That's diamond. You have to go 10 times platinum with 5.8 million sold on that one record. Those are pretty incredible numbers. If you want to, just for the sake of shits and giggles, go compare that number to anybody who is alive nowadays that's rapping, say like Drake, Kendrick, Eminem. Very few of them have a record that's hit that level. I don't know if Kendrick has yet had a record that's hit 5 million. I think the biggest his record has been is 1 million. I don't know about Drake. I think Eminem has his first 3 albums all hit about 5 to 6 million if I remember correctly. But that's very very hard for a rapper to do. That's one of the highest selling albums in the rap industry. Has is on the list. It is. And then he continues. This is all of his posthumous albums after he passed away. We got 4 times platinum, the Don Illuminati. That's a good fucking album too, by the way. That's the one that has Hail Mary on it. Hail Mary is such a nitty gritty fucking song, dude. Dirty song, really good song. 4 times platinum with Are You Still Down? Another really good album. 2 million there. And then we got platinum with I Still Rise, 4 times platinum with Until the End of Time, 3 times platinum with Better Days, platinum again with Loyal to the Game. This is released in 2004, by the way, okay? So Pac's life, 10 years later, we're at 469 sold for Pac's life, which was released November 2006. And then, of course, he's got live albums, compilation albums. There's soundtracks and remix, Tupac Resurrection, Platinum 1.6 in 2003. It just keeps going, man. Look at all this shit. It just keeps going. This so many records that were sold, larger portion of them, most of them being after he passed away. But we're still him on the record. It was most of these recordings were recordings he made with Death Row Records after he got out of prison. He recorded so much content that they made another, what was that, 10 albums after he died? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Then he got 2 live albums. Okay, so 7 studio records after he died. That's how much material he recorded. That's incredible. Like, the work ethic to do that is crazy. So let's dive into, now we have a good understanding of Pac is, which you probably already did, but you know, it's fun to talk about. So a good understanding of who Tupac is, what sort of impact he made on rap and the culture, why he is considered one of the best. We've shared a couple thoughts on that. Let's get into the unfortunate passing. So, on the night of September 7th, 1996, thousands of boxing fans flocked to the MGM Grand Hotel in Las Vegas for a match between Mike Tyson and Bruce Seldon. Tupac Shakur was one of many celebrities in attendance. With him was Suge Knight, the CEO of Tupac's recording studio, record label. The 2 high-profile men were followed by an entourage of unarmed bodyguards and musicians. Kathy Scott, a reporter for the Las Vegas Sun who wrote a book about the murder, said it was strange for Tupac and his entourage to go out unarmed. You know, I don't know how much we can believe about Kathy Scott there, but maybe. Anyways, after the match, Tupac rode in Suge's black BMW, headed to Las Vegas club owned by Suge. Shortly after 11, Tupac and Suge pulled up to an intersection and spoke with 2 unidentified women. Kathy Scott described the events that follows. The 2 were looking at the girls and talking to them. That's what the witnesses have told the police. And that's when a white Cadillac drove up on the passenger side next to Tupac and opened fire. Tupac tried to climb into the back seat and didn't make it. Once the attackers fled, Suge drove off in the opposite direction. He stopped for help at a nearby casino. Tupac had suffered gunshot wounds in his chest, hip, and hand. Suge had escaped with only a bullet grazing across his temple. There were thousands of witnesses to the shooting, but police say only one person came forward. Yafu Fula. I do not know if I'm pronouncing that correctly. We're going to call him Wafu. Wafu. There we go. We're going to call him Wafu. Wafu, one of Tupac's backup singers. He was riding in a car directly behind Suge and Pac and told police he could identify the gunman. However, after a brief interview, police sent Wafu home. As Tupac clung to life, fans gathered outside the Las Vegas hospital where he was being treated. On September 13th, just 6 days after the shooting, Tupac died from his gunshot wounds. Initial reports came in that Tupac was a victim of gang violence. Just 3 hours before the shooting, a hotel security camera at the MGM Grand recorded Tupac, Suge, and members of the entourage beating up an alleged member of an LA street gang, the Southside Crips. It has been rumored that Suge Knight was linked to a rival gang. Did this confrontation lead to Tupac's murder? The music video for Tupac's 2 of America's Most Wanted offered a clue to a second theory. In the months before his death, Tupac was at the center of a heated rivalry between the East Coast rapper Biggie Smalls and Sean Puff Daddy Combs. Those 2 were beefing with him. the CEO of Bad Boy Entertainment. That's Sean Puffy Combs. We all know him nowadays as P. Diddy. He's in a little bit of his own controversy nowadays. That will be, I don't know if we'll discuss it on a conspiracy theory, but on a conspiracy theory Thursday, but that is at this point a conspiracy theory that ended up being true. That people have been saying that for a long time, that P. Diddy was a freak and had some freaky ass parties that had a lot of illegal shit going on. And now he's in a court case right now, potentially, probably more than likely about to go to prison over some of the shit he was doing at those parties. So, no, before he was the freak P. Diddy, he was just Sean Puff Daddy Combs. In the music video, Tupac blames his East Coast rivals for the 1994 attack that nearly killed him. That's where he was shot 5 times in the lobby of Quad Records. According to Wendy Day, the rivalry began after Tupac was shot 5 times in front of a New York recording studio. To this day, no one has been arrested for that shooting. Some suspect the murder was an inside job set up by someone close to Pac. Several unanswered questions support this theory. How did the gunman know where Tupac would be? How did Tupac seem to be the only target? Why weren't his bodyguards armed at the time of the shooting? And why was no one willing to cooperate with police, not even Tupac's bodyguards? So, Wafu was the only witness who came forward, but he never had the opportunity to view a photo lineup of possible suspects. 2 months after returning to his home in New Jersey, Wafu was gunned down in the stairwell of a housing project. Was this a random act of violence or a premeditated murder to keep him from talking to the authorities? There are many theories in this unsolved murder case. Now that the only eyewitness is dead, some believe Tupac's killer may never be found. Well, update. Oh, it says it right here. Update September 2023 is when it happens. And we're going to get out of this really close. Blah, before you can read it. Boom, you didn't see nothing. You saw nothing. Okay. We're going to hit that at the end of the stream. I'm going to go into that. So, let's see. Davis. Who is Davis again? I'm trying to remember why I pulled this one up. Oh, that was right. Just his last words. Okay, so yeah, Tupac Shakur, the witness, he was gunned down in a stairwell. The Wafu, yeah, he was killed in a stairwell not a year later after the shooting. So, and I believe that was in New Jersey, it said. I never heard of Wafu, but yeah, that's very unfortunate. But yeah, killed in a stairwell. So that definitely added to a lot of the conspiracy theory aspects, right? You only got one guy who can identify the shooter, and a few months later, he's killed. Pretty crazy, yeah. So, anyways, Tupac was shot multiple times. Yep. At the end of his fatal shooting, he was in a car. At the time of his fatal shooting, he was in a car with Suge Knight when a white Cadillac with 2 or 3 males inside pulled up beside them and opened fire. The investigator said, okay, details are vague, however, because those riding in Shakur's 10-car entourage have not been forthcoming as witnesses. Knight was slightly wounded. Shakur died from his injuries 6 days later at 25 years old. Shakur was the intended target of the shooting, yada yada. 13 or 14 rounds were fired. Almost all went into the passenger side of the vehicle, a Las Vegas policeman said at the time. We feel pretty sure that Shakur was the target. In 2024, Chris Carroll, a retired sergeant with the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department and the first police officer to respond at the scene of Shakur's drive-by, spoke publicly about the rapper's last few words. This is new to me. This is why I brought up this article, because I had never heard this before. So, after retirement, Carroll said he felt he had more freedom to speak about the homicide case without being reprimanded. He told Vegas 7 magazine at the time, Carroll attempted to get a dying declaration of a potential suspect from Shakur, but the musician didn't budge, he said. And then I saw in his face, in his movements, all of a sudden, in the snap of a finger, he changed, Carroll said. And he went from struggling to speak, being non-cooperative, to an I'm at peace type of thing. Just like that, he went from fighting to I can't do it. And when he made that transition, he looked at me, and he's looking right in my eyes. And that's when I looked at him and I said one more time, who shot you? He looked at me and he took a deep breath to get the words out. And he opened his mouth, and I thought I was actually going to hear some cooperation. And then the words came out. Fuck you. After that, he started gurgling and slipped out of consciousness. So, Tupac's last words were fuck you, because obviously it was a police officer that was talking to him, right? I mean, hey, this is a guy who got in a gunfight with police, right? So that kind of, that it checks out, right? House search decades later. This was looking into a fellow named Davis. which we'll get into that here in a little bit. That's later for down the road. And then this goes into how impactful Tupac was, all that good stuff. So, Tupac Shakur Unsolved Murder Conspiracy Theory Explained. We're going to watch this video here in a second because I'm actually going to hop over to the Be Right Back screen, also known as I really need to pee really fucking bad screen, because that's what I got to do. So stay tuned. Give me 1 second to take a piss and I'll be right back. All right. We're back. That was a glorious piss. I have been holding that in for this whole hour. So, yeah, okay. Let's pop over the YouTube screen and let's go ahead and watch the Rolling Stone video on the various murder conspiracy theories explained. Let's pop up here. Oh, no subtitle. Okay. Well, you'll survive.
The unsolved murder of Tupac Shakur is to this day one of the most widely debated homicides in music history. Even now, over 21 years later, people still speculate about what exactly happened that night. This is what we know for sure. On the evening of September 7th, 1996, Tupac and Suge Knight, the then CEO of Death Row Records, attended a Mike Tyson fight at the MGM Grand in Las Vegas. In the casino lobby, Tupac had a run-in with alleged Crips gang member Orlando Anderson. There was a brief fight. Shakur and Knight's entourage got involved, but it was eventually broken up and the men went their separate ways. Shakur and Knight headed out toward Club 662. While Shakur and Knight were on their way to the club, around 11 p.m., a white Cadillac pulled up next to them on the passenger side while they idled at a stoplight. An unidentified gunman then fired 14 gunshots into their car. Shakur was hit 4 times, twice in the chest, once in the arm, and once in the thigh, with one bullet puncturing his right lung. Suge Knight was injured by a bullet fragment that hit him in the head, but otherwise walked away unscathed. The rapper was taken to a nearby hospital where doctors kept him alive for 6 days before his mother finally made the decision to stop treatment on September 13th, 1996, at 4:03 p.m. His official cause of death was cardiac arrest. So now, here's what people are not so sure of. Following Tupac's death, investigators looked into a number of suspects, including Anderson. Anderson's affiliation with the Crips would have made the shooting a gang-related retaliation hit. Members of a 10-car entourage following Suge Knight and Tupac Shakur told officers that it was Anderson who fired the shots. But Anderson was later killed in an unrelated gang shooting, and the cops lost their lead.
So, just to iterate here, to clarify this, the original witness was Wafu, we were calling him, Yusuf or whatever his name was, completely separate guy who was killed in New Jersey. He was a witness. He said he saw who had killed him. He did not ever give the police never took his statement on who he said he saw kill him. Instead, he was gunned down several months later in New Jersey. This guy, Mr. Anderson here, Orlando Anderson, was said by other people to be the guy that killed Pac, and he was gunned down, I believe, in Las Vegas several months later. So everybody who's involved with this case is just pew 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 pew, just getting pew pewed like left and right. So really crazy.
The media was quick to jump on a different narrative that placed the blame on Shakur's former friend and East Coast rival, the notorious B.I.G. The pair had come up together in the 90s, with Shakur even acting as Biggie's mentor of sorts.
Like I said, he grew up rapping in New York. Was a New York-based rapper. He did shows, open shows with Biggie. And I believe, from what I remember reading, where their beef, or at least Tupac's, I believe that Biggie did not like him. Where this started was they were together in New York rapping, coming up. Tupac started Thug Life, which was a rap group. A rap group that was, according to reports, heavily involved in, not heavily, but at least to some extent involved in actual gang activity, which would make sense. Their name is Thug Life, right? So this dude is getting in gunfights with cops. So, yeah, he's got a rap group, and yeah, they do some shit. Well, he asked Biggie to be a part of Thug Life because they had done multiple shows together. They're coming up together. Biggie is blowing up. Biggie had the interest of Puff Daddy with Bad Boy Records. Puff Daddy owned Bad Boy Records, and Biggie was his shining star. This is who he wanted to make and was making a big star at the time. But Biggie said, nah, I'm not about the whole real deal gangbang life. And for some reason, I mean, I get it, but a lot of people get upset when you say that about Biggie. This is all gone over actually pretty accurately from what I remember in the movie Notorious, which was a biopic of Biggie's life. They go over it pretty straightforward in that biopic, man. Like, look, it isn't like Biggie was a pussy or anything. Biggie was, a big dude, and he came from a hard neighborhood. But at a young age, he was arrested, punking crack on the street corner. And he went to jail. He went to juvie and was like, dude, I can't do this. I am, he even says it in one of his songs, man. I can't, what was the lyric? Gosh, I forget the lyric, but it was something like, I can't punk, I can't punk crack, too fucking fat to run from the cops, gotta stick with rap, or something to that effect, where he just flat out says, like, dude, like, I'm not made for this drug dealing shit, man. My ass is too fat to run away from them cops. So I'm not going to make it out in these streets. And he started rapping in juvie and ended up having a really big talent for it. He was also an incredibly talented rapper for his day and age, especially if you put them both in the context of their generation. They were at the top of the skilled rappers list, easy on the top 5 list of the most skilled rappers of that day and age, right? And still to this day, now it's a different day and age, different skill sets. A lot of people still consider them to be very skilled, respectively, for what they were accomplishing. But either way, Biggie said, nah, I'm not going to be joining Thug Life. Sorry about that. I'm starting my own thing called Junior Mafia, right? Everybody knows Junior Mafia, Little Kim, Little Caesar, right? Under Bad Boy Records. Started that whole thing. Well, that was supposedly around the time where Tupac wasn't necessarily upset about that. But after he got shot in the lobby of a New York recording studio, he highly suspected, like we read before, that it was Puff Daddy and Biggie who set him up. And the reason he felt that way was because Biggie thought that Thug Life and Tupac were too big of, they were competition, too much competition for Biggie and Junior Mafia. And that Puff Daddy and B.I.G., or maybe even just Puff Daddy by himself, but Tupac felt like it was Puff and B.I.G. who decided that, nah, we need to take Pac and Thug Life out so we can clear out the competition, right? And that's why Biggie wouldn't join with Tupac, because he wanted his own thing. He wanted to be the top dog, and he couldn't do that if Pac was around. So they had Pac killed. I believe Eminem has actually said the same thing, which doesn't sound like that should mean anything, right? Eminem, he's a white rapper that came up decades later after this whole thing, right? Well, not decades later. Tupac was killed in 1996. Eminem dropped his first album, the Slim Shady LP, in 1997, right? But he blew up around 2000 with his second album. Then it was official. This dude's a real big deal in hip hop. Eminem nowadays claims that it was Puff Daddy that had them both killed, that they both got killed because of Puff Daddy. He used to claim in the past that it was Suge Knight. Now he claims it was Puff Daddy that set them both up. And the reason why that does kind of mean something or is kind of interesting is because Eminem has worked extensively with Tupac's mother and a whole lot of Puff Daddy and BIG's label mates from back in the Junior Mafia and Bad Boy Records days. He's worked with a lot of producers from Bad Boy Records. He's worked with Nas, who also grew up with both of these guys. He just dropped a song with LL Cool J, who grew up with both these guys, right? Like he knows multiple people that are in this scene that grew up with these guys, including Tupac's mother. Worked with her very extensively when the Tupac biopic came out, Tupac Resurrection, the documentary, excuse me. He did all the music for the album, produced it all, and worked with Tupac's mom. So that's around the time that his idea shifted from it wasn't Suge that had them killed, it was Puff Daddy. So kind of interesting.
Things eventually went south in the middle of the decade when the two rappers got embroiled in an epic East Coast-West Coast rap rivalry. The feud was believed to have been sparked by Biggie's 1994 song, Who Shot Ya? The possible diss track is said to be about Shakur getting shot and robbed in New York City.
Yeah. People say Who Shot Ya was about that incident where he was shot in the lobby of that recording studio. I don't know if it is. It does sound, if you listen to the song Who Shot Ya, it does kind of sound like he's talking about it, but he doesn't say Pac, he doesn't say New York, he doesn't say recording studio, he doesn't drop any obvious hints. It is a really good song, though. Who Shot Ya is a really dope fucking track.
2 years later, in 1996, Tupac released Hit 'Em Up, where Tupac claims he had an affair with Biggie's wife, Faith Evans. Evans denied this claim. Evans later told MTV News that Biggie was afraid people would believe he was responsible for Tupac's death and feared retaliation. Biggie denied such claims. 6 months later, on March 9, 1997, Biggie was shot and killed in a drive-by shooting while leaving a party in Los Angeles.
I knew it. Okay. I didn't want to say it earlier, but yeah, it was LA where he was killed. I believe, very unfortunately, it was after he made the song Going Back to Cali. He made a hip hop song called Going Back to Cali. It was a really dope track. I'm going back to Cali, Cali. Really dope track. And you could hear in his voice on that track how excited he is to be back in California, rapping with California rappers and not worrying about having to get killed. And then he went out there and got killed. So that's unfortunate.
After the Soul Train Awards, his death also remains unsolved. A third theory put the blame on Suge Knight. Fans have pointed to a possibly frosty relationship between the Death Row Records CEO and his rising star. Theorists believe Shakur was ready to leave Death Row to start his own label. And so, Suge Knight orchestrated his murder that night in Las Vegas, a claim that he has strongly denied. In fact, in 2017, a new documentary about Shakur's death that pointed to yet another possibility. The documentary claims that Knight's ex-wife, Sharitha Golden, and Reggie Willis Jr., the former head of security for Death Row Records, had actually plotted a hit on him in order to gain control of the label. Golden has publicly denied the accusation. But perhaps the most outrageous, yet more popular theory out there is that Shakur didn't die at all that night, that maybe he's living in Cuba after faking his own death. Supposed evidence here includes his 7 posthumous records, a supposedly fake autopsy photo, and his mother's choice of words when she told the world that her son Tupac, quote, chose to leave quietly. This is in a long, long tradition of music stars who fans have claimed faked their deaths and escaped. Examples include Jim Morrison, who supposedly faked his death in Paris and ran off to Ethiopia, or Elvis Presley, who spelled his name wrong on his tombstone in Graceland, then went into hiding. Elvis was frequently spotted at supermarkets and other public places all over America in the 80s and 90s. The case of Tupac may just remain a mystery unsolved. My name is Rob Sheffield, and I officially...
All right. Good job, Rob. Everybody give Rob a golf clap. You did a good job there. Okay, so yeah, that's where we pop in. Is Tupac still alive? Now, I don't know about the posthumous records because From what I am aware of, there's a whole lot of different rappers who have worked on those records. Eminem has a lot of credits on a couple of those last few posthumous records. So there's other rappers who have come out that have worked on those records, have all the credits on those records. I don't think Tupac himself, and I believe it's Tupac's mother that currently owns the rights to all his music. So you can make for it what you will. But there are some of the conspiracy theories about who killed him. But more, we want to dive into those conspiracy theories. Why do people think he's still alive? Well, it isn't just a few records, right? It's not posthumous records because a lot of people have done that, you know. It by the way, that's a great idea. Hold on. Let's switch over back to this camera. All right. So I definitely need to write down in my conspiracy theory list about the 27 Club. There's a whole conspiracy theory about musicians that die at the age of 27. There's a few of them that they just mentioned right there. Erroneously, a lot of people say Tupac died at the age of 27. I believe he was actually 25. But they have what's called the 27 Club. Jim Morrison, Nirvana, Kurt Cobain, Amy Winehouse. There was another one there, 27 years old when all of them died. So they have a conspiracy theory on why that is, why so many musicians have died at the age of 27. But anyways, let's continue with this conspiracy theory. It only took me an hour to get to actually reading the fucking conspiracy theories, all right? So I don't know if that's, hopefully you found the stream entertaining up to this point. If you have, please like and subscribe. If you haven't, then bummer, bro. Come back next time and maybe I'll get it right. Okay, so our first theory, Tupac is alive and well in Cuba. A man named Michael Nice, also known as Mr. Nice, who claimed to have been part of Shakur's security team, insisted in December 2018 that the rapper was not dead after all. Yeah, I hadn't heard of this one before. This was after my time of hearing the conspiracy theories, right? Instead, Mr. Nice said that he himself had played a role in helping to stage the drive-by and spirit his boss away to Cuba, with the support of the country's late leader, Fidel Castro, no less, who retained a friendly respect for the rapper's former Black Panther aunt, Asada Shakur, who had sought asylum in Havana in 1980 after escaping from prison. Yeah, that's all real deal. I mean, that part right there, Asada Shakur, his aunt, escaped from prison and ran to Havana. That's all true. But before Mr. Nice could deliver the evidence he had promised to substantiate this unlikely story, he died. So, we're going to get into that. Another friend of Shakur, Todd Anthony Shaw, who goes by the alias Too Short, you might have heard of him if you're into rap at all. Too Short was another pretty famous New York rapper, has also said he does not believe the All Eyes on Me star is really gone, commenting, I'm just saying that not every politician did not die of car crashes and some of them got killed. Some of those plane crashes were deliberate. It is a possibility. Believe me, it ain't just open and shut. Mr. Nice and Mr. Shaw are not alone in their belief, however, with sightings of the dead man reported in such exotic locations as New Orleans, Somalia, and Belize over the years. The funniest of which is surely a claim reported by the Daily Mirror that Shakur is not only alive and well, but selling DVDs to earn a crust at Barra's Market in Glasgow, Scotland. So you can find Tupac all the way up in Scotland. Okay, how's that? Well, let's look at this Mr. Nice character, right? He was about to give us evidence, and then he died. But is that what happened? Michael Nice is a person who claimed to have evidence showing that Castro confirmed the rapper's safe passage to Cuba. Tupac Shakur was smuggled to Cuba with the help of former President Fidel Castro, is the statement of this British theorist, writes Mirror. Michael Nice recently said the legendary rapper was alive and well after being trafficked from America with his security team. He reckons the team helped Tupac travel from Las Vegas to Barbados before his journey continued to Cuba. In a video published to his YouTube channel, Michael says his safe passage to Cuba was all insured by Fidel Castro, who died November 2016. I have audio and video evidence of Fidel Castro confirming that he sanctioned Tupac to go to Cuba, says Michael. Michael continues his account by saying there were terms and conditions for this sanction. There was a limit to the amount of time. There were conditions on his behavior. He should not have admitted that he was actually living in Cuba. He claims that a group involved in a coup plot against Castro has evidence as they tapped the late leader's phone. The video prompted a flood of responses from people demanding proof. I think we really deserve a real photo or video as proof to be convinced, one fan wrote. A second wrote, but where's the proof that he is alive? This is an incredible story, but again, zero evidence to back it up, added a third commenter. Michael said he and his brother worked for the political organization the Black Panthers, a movement that included Tupac's parents during the late 90s. On September 7, 1996, Tupac was shot, but Michael claims he was only injured. He says he helped Tupac leave the country before someone else turned the rapper into the police. It was me, my brother, the pilot, Tupac, and the two Panther boys on the plane. We set off, and immediately we knew we were safe. We felt good, and it was like escaping from prison. There were hugs and handshakes when we finally arrived in Barbados. We helped him escape, and that was the best feeling. Then my brother helped him go to Cuba from there. He claims he is trying to be censored, and his videos have been removed from YouTube. In July, it was revealed that police investigating Tupac's murder are still searching for suspects. Oh, does this... Oh, it doesn't go into it. Fuck. Okay, well... Oh, here it is, right here. There we go. Okay, good. The man who helped Tupac fake his death faked his own death to prove that the rapper never died. So, in lieu of actual evidence, which he never did bring about, it turns out, Mr. Nice here, in lieu of the evidence, he faked his own death. So, yeah, like I said, Mr. Nice died before he could give evidence, right? Well, he came back later and in a video said, "My name is Michael Nice. I faked my death on the 18th of December, 2018, and I'm here today, back from the dead, to show why and how I faked my death. I'm going to put the record straight." Speaking from an unknown location, he continues, "I know it's a shock to all the people who know me, but I'm back. I'm back to explain everything. I confess I faked my death and I feel quite ashamed about it, but it had to be done, and I'm here to explain the reasons why." Michael says the fact he faked his own death proves that he also helped Tupac fake his own death because he got the experience required to pull it off. He says, "I've done it again with myself. It proves that I've got those capabilities." Michael also says he has been receiving threats and that if he hadn't faked his death when he did, he would have been dead by now anyways. Michael says he arranged for an ambulance to collect him after he faked his death and that he used a magic trick he learned as a youngster to stop his pulse so that when a paramedic checked him, they believed he was dead. He says his body was taken to the hospital and that his contacts in the funeral home business arranged to pick him up and switch him out for an actual dead body, which was taken to the morgue. He says he then made his escape and that he couldn't believe how smoothly it all went. Michael goes on, "I laid low for a year and I'm back now to tell my story, but put things straight and get on with the mission. There's only one thing I can guarantee out of all of this. It doesn't matter whether you believe it or not. Retribution is coming." And I don't know exactly what that means because that's kind of where this dude's story ends. I think he pulled this little stunt, and I don't know how he pulled it. Him stopping his pulse, convincing an ambulance he died, and then getting his body swapped with a real dead body because he knows people who just have a dead body sitting on hands, right? We all do, right? I just got a dead body sitting in the fucking freezer for when I feel like faking my death for YouTube likes. So, damn. That mic is like right there. I got to get used to not hitting it. So, in any case, yeah, I think a lot of people felt like this was silly. I know I do. I read that and I can't help but smile a little bit. It's funny, it's entertaining, but he never did release any proof that Tupac was alive. And as, I guess, entertaining as his stunt is, it is just a stunt. I think a lot of people came out on social media and dragged him pretty hard, and he eventually got the hint that nobody's interested. We're not buying what you're selling, bro. You're not gonna sell your conspiracy to the world. But in lieu of Mr. Nice giving us video evidence of Pac in Cuba, we do have other videos that people have released of Pac in Cuba. So here is a video of Tupac allegedly hanging out in Cuba. In the early 2000s, a blog called Holla Back Exclusive shared a video alleging that Tupac was hanging out in plain sight at a parking lot in Cuba. "Tupac is fucking living, yo," the man in the video says. The camera then pans to a man who looks like Tupac chatting with a group of men, and he slightly looks over at the camera. So let's take a look at it. Oh. Tell me what you think. Here, let me throw up the YouTube screen. Okay, let's check it out.
Manson. You know, I just moved out LA, but I'm Philadelphia till I die, yo. The rumors is true. Tupac is fucking living, yo. I just seen him in the studio, man. He just dissed Eminem for putting out that last album. Jermaine Dupri because he fucked with Janet Jackson. And I don't know why, but he just dissed Mace. I need y'all to be quiet, man. Holla back exclusive, Marley Manson, yo. Watch. They go Pac with his motherfucking homies right now. He holding the fucking coke. Look, zoom in. That's Pac, man. He with the fucking outlaws. And Reg from Holla Back is trying to be friendly and get autographs and shit. Holla Back exclusive, baby. Holla Back.
Wasn't that amazing? It wasn't that amazing.
Fuck out of here. Get him out of here, man. Get him out of here, man. Hey, Pac, man.
All right. So there you have it. Video evidence of Pac in Cuba. You know, to be honest, that dude did look a lot like Pac. It could have been Pac. He looked a lot like him. But, you know, I don't know why Pac would be dropping diss tracks on Holla Back exclusive. I don't know who the fuck Holla Back exclusive even is. But we have a second video. A second video of Tupac allegedly in Cuba with Suge Knight surfaced online in 2004. When did that last one pop up? This was in early 2000s at some point. Yeah, okay. This is 2004. A video posted on YouTube that has over 3 million views claims to show Tupac joking with Suge Knight in Cuba in 2004. Okay, let's pop it up. Let's see how it goes. See if this one's any better than Mr. Hollerback's video. YouTube screen again. There's poor, what is that? Is that Will Smith again? Crying right there. Poor Will Smith, always crying. That's what he's going to be remembered for. Okay.
We interrupt what you're watching right now to bring you this exciting story.
A new documentary is asking an old question. Who killed rapper Tupac Shakur?
Murdered rapper Tupac Shakur set Twitter ablaze after a lifelike performance this weekend at a festival in California. The spellbinding return from the grave owes thanks to hologram technology.
Come on, man! Biggie bitch! Big hair, man. Big hair. Okay, but I did you for you, but I did you. But you told me to fuck puppy bitch, so I did it for you. Why you ain't tell nobody? The bitch had more blood like I did in the motherfucking race.
Okay. Well, that definitely looks like Suge Knight, and that definitely looked like Tupac. Chances are that's probably not from 2004. Then they have videos here. TMZ released videos in 2009 of Tupac in New Orleans. Okay. Let's see. I don't know if I even clicked into this one because I haven't heard the New Orleans one. I didn't see anything else on it. Maybe I did click on it and that was it. Oh, launch photos. Okay. No. Get out of here, TMZ. There we go, gallery. Okay. That's their supposed photos in 2009 of Tupac in New Orleans. Okay, maybe. Dude definitely looks like Pac, but yeah, so either way, I'm not entirely sure about the New Orleans one. I've actually never heard of that. That's the first time I've heard of that one. But definitely heard of the Cuba one. Mr. Nice. Okay. That's the Cuba conspiracy theory. All right. So take from it what you will. Mr. Nice and his disappearing act. And a couple videos of him supposedly out in Cuba. Okay. We're going to jump into the next theory. Tupac is alive and under CIA protection. Another bizarre theory is that Shakur is alive and living under the protection of the CIA as a government witness. Or have to get at least one of those per stream. It's like customary at this point. However, the agency has come out and flatly denied that speculation. Despite this, the rumor continues to live on among the conspiracy minded. Adding further fuel to the fire is the theory that one of Tupac's nicknames, Machiavelli, in tribute to the Renaissance political thinker Niccolo Machiavelli, is actually an anagram of Am Alive, K. Am Alive, K. Okay, well, I suppose. Right there, Am Alive, K. But yeah, the CIA did post this in 2014. No, we don't know where Tupac is. It has also been pointed out that the Machiavelli himself advocated faking one's death in his 1520 treatise, The Art of War, in order to win an advantage in battle. Yeah, this is Niccolo Machiavelli. The Italian philosopher actually said this. He had stated, "Sometimes it has been of great moment while the fight is going on to disseminate words that pronounce the enemy's captain to be dead, or to have been conquered by another part of the army. Many times this has given victory to him who used it." Believers also point to the fact that Shakur's posthumous album, The Dawn Illuminati, The 7-Day Theory, features a design by Ronald Risky, Brent of Tupac as Jesus Christ on the cover, who of course returned from the dead after his crucifixion. Oh, I do remember that. Yeah, I remember people talking about that because the cover of Dawn Illuminati, let's just pull it up here so you can see it. Dawn Illuminati album cover. It's Tupac on the crucifix, like Jesus, right? So a lot of people took that to mean, oh, testing. Oh, hold on. I got to reset my headphones real quick. I'm getting all crazy and scribbly. Give me 1 second. Yeah, this happens occasionally for some. So I just resync them and it usually goes away, but it gets like some kind of interface bullshit. Okay. Let's see. Can I hear myself? I can. Okay, good. It worked. Thank gosh. Okay, fucking A. So yeah, anyways, a lot of people take this album cover to mean that he's coming back from the dead at some point. So, any case, yeah, that is another conspiracy theory that the CIA actually is hiding him. I don't know what exactly he would be a government witness for. Obvious, and let's just put this out there. This dude got in gunfights with cops, right? I don't know how excited he would be to be helping the CIA out. What I've actually heard is more in the vein of the CIA killed Tupac, right? And so this guy's going to explain it. We're going to give him like half the video because I forget where exactly in the video this explanation pops up. I will give you my thoughts on this because I've been hearing this conspiracy theory since about 2011, 12, when I started working in recording studios. I've been hearing people discuss the CIA killing Tupac. If this guy doesn't go over why that would be the case, then I'll explain it to you. Who is John Potash? John Potash. It doesn't say in the description. I hate it when they do that. Sean Atwood is the dude doing the interview. And I don't know who he is neither, but that's less important. How do you spell his name? John Potash. John Potash. Okay, he's been featured in a lot of different shit. Is this the same guy? No, that's not the same guy. Uh-oh. There might be a lot of John Potashes. This is the same. This is the guy right here. Okay. Well, that's just that's definitely the guy. Yeah. He's got that weird butt chin going on there. CIA. Okay, he was a CIA. Targeting Panthers. Yeah, that's it. Okay, John Potash released his book, Drugs as Weapons Against Us, the CIA's murderous targeting of SDS, Panthers, Hendrix, Lenin, Cobain, Tupac, and other activists. So this guy wrote this book here. Let's pull it up. Drugs as Weapons Against Us, okay? Drugs as Weapons Against Us meticulously details how a group of opium trafficking families came to form an American oligarchy and eventually achieved global dominance. This oligarchy helped fund the Nazi regime and then saved thousands of Nazis to work with the Central Intelligence Agency. We know that's true. We went over that in another Conspiracy Theory Thursday, Operation Mockingbird. So go check out my video, Conspiracy Theories That Were True, if you want to learn more about that. But Nazis working for the CIA, 100% true. CIA operations such as MK Ultra pushed LSD and other drugs on leftist leaders and left-leaning populations at home and abroad. Evidence supports that this oligarchy further led the United States into its long-running wars in the ideal areas of opium crops, while also massively funding wars in areas of cocoa plant abundance for cocaine production under the guise of a war on drugs that is actually the use of drugs as a war on us. Drugs as Weapons Against Us tells how scores of undercover U.S. intelligence agents used drugs in the targeting of leftist leaders from SDS to the Black Panthers, Young Lords, Latin Kings, and the Occupy movement. It also tells how they particularly targeted leftist musicians, including John Lennon, Jimi Hendrix, Kurt Cobain, and Tupac Shakur, to promote drugs, while later murdering them when they started sobering up and taking on more leftist activism. The book further uncovers the evidence that the intelligence agents dosed Paul Robeson with LSD, gave Mick Jagger his first hit of acid, hooked Janis Joplin on amphetamines, as well as manipulated Elvis Presley, Eminem, the Wu-Tang Clan, and more. Wow. So that is quite the conspiracy theory right there. They're just doing everything with everybody. King Tone, there's Shakur, Jimi Hendrix, just a whole lot of them. Quite crazy balls. Well, take a look into that then. That's pretty interesting. Interesting book there. That's the first time I've heard of this book, actually. Say it's a very well-researched book. A lot of 5-star reviews here. A bit underwhelming, says this person. Fantastic book crammed with information. Interesting, disturbing read. So take a gander at that. I will actually save this. Weapons Against Us. I will put this in the folder here. So you guys can check that out in the description on the YouTube video, below the video. So if you feel interested in reading that book. That sounds like a very interesting book. But let's hear what he has to say. We're going to give him a little bit, maybe half this video, to chat and talk about it. And we'll run through and see if I have anything to add. YouTube screen. There we go. Okay, check it out.
Great underground activists that weren't talked about, such as the leading New York Black Panthers, the Shakurs, and that led me to a kind of a different history of Tupac Shakur, and also led me to see all kinds of things happening with the Students for Democratic Society, for example, the leading college anti-war activists in the country. So there was just a lot of different things I was hearing about that I felt like weren't covered in our mainstream history books. And I'm sorry about my dog barking in the background. But so I
was gonna
led
say,
me to explore,
bro has a loud fucking dog.
or how, other ways that aren't being talked about how, what was used to undermine them in terms of drugs, but also try to highlight the great activism they were doing, and how let's learn from this, and not be undermined, in our good activism by things like drugs.
What did you find most fascinating about the alternative history of Tupac?
Well, it turns out when I talked to Tupac's longtime mentor, political mentor, former Black Panther Chokwe Lumumba, who was his first business manager, he's told me, I basically asked, well, was Tupac only pretending to be a gangster in order to appeal to gangs and politicize them? And he said yes. And that was part of his thug life agenda that he came up with his imprisoned stepfather, Mutulu Shakur. who was a great used acupuncture pioneer, using acupuncture for addictions therapy. And so Tupac was just using that in order to get the Bloods and the Crips leaders to call peace truces, first in Los Angeles, then throughout California, and then throughout the country. And that was why he was pretending to be this gangster type. And really, he was just an intellectual prodigy. You know, people like his teachers in Baltimore, in the Baltimore Performing Arts School he went to, told me he was considered the brightest guy in the class. They elected him their leader to represent their school. He was the best actor they ever had. He was an intellectual prodigy. He rewrote Shakespeare in modern language and produced, directed, and performed as the star in Shakespeare plays before he was out of high school. He was just an amazing individual who was only pretending to be this other type as part of a political plan. And so that's too bad that people didn't get to know him fully because of that. But he was accomplishing great things in terms of getting many gangs to stop dealing drugs and start turning on to activism. But that was affecting the pockets, the money of the CIA and the banks that launder all that money to the tune of many billions of dollars. And that's why he was such a threat to the powers that be.
All right, let's go over this a bit slower then. So, what was the ultimate goal then of Tupac's activism?
Tupac was trying to empower young black males, and he said that, in interviews at different times. But he was also trying to further the kind of community organizing ideals and the socialist ideals of his Black Panther family that he was inspired by growing up. His mother was a one-time leader of the Harlem Black Panthers. His godfather was a leader of the Los Angeles Black Panthers, and they were, they called themselves socialist or Marxist. And so they started all kinds of free breakfast programs and free community organizing programs, education programs, housing programs to fight for, housing rights and things, political education programs. And so he was trying to do that for poor black communities around the country. And really, in the end, he was saying he was fighting for the rights for all what he called, tribal groups, meaning like ethnic minorities that were disenfranchised in our country. And so he was really just trying to do a lot of good, what I call, just social activism on this, and that was part of his plan. And he was trying to do that partly through his music and his acting, because he was originally, when he was 17 years old, he was elected the youngest ever leader of the New African Panthers, which was a national group trying to replicate the Black Panthers. And so he was already a black leader before he became a rapper. And so some counterintelligence program, FBI counterintelligence program agents like M. Wesley Swearingen said in his memoir that the FBI pretended to stop their COINTELPRO, their counterintelligence program, which targeted leftist activists around the country, anti-war activists and civil rights activists throughout the 60s. They pretended to stop that in 1971, but they really continued it under different names. And they continued it at least until the mid 1990s, he said in his memoir, which came out in the mid 1990s. So I show the evidence that they surely were going to target Tupac in the same way they targeted his parents.
So,
okay. We're going to stop it right there. We're not going to do a whole 11 minutes. It is a very interesting conversation, though. You do, when it gets to stuff like this, I personally prefer to have some kind of, new subscriber. That's nice. Yeah, so I personally prefer to have evidence there for these kinds of conversations. You can say, oh, well, what was one of these claims that he made? Hold on, give me a second. You'd say, well, Tupac definitely came out and said that he was just pretending to be a gangster for the sake of doing activism. I am not convinced by you just saying that. Like, you definitely need to provide the evidence for that, which supposedly that's what his book is about, right? That book that we just went over, the John Potash book, what was it? Drugs as Weapons Against Us. That's hopefully what I would hope to find in his book is the actual evidence of that, right? Just kind of stating it. It's an interesting thought. I would like to hear more about it, sort of a thing. But I mean, I would like to hear evidence about it. I would like to hear what is your evidence for that? Because evidence that we have was dude was involved with gangs. He became a rapper and through that became involved with gangs and was very much about the gang life. So, you know, that's all good and well. And that would be really cool if this were the case. If he wasn't actually a gangster, but he was trying to take that persona so that he could convince gangsters to not be gangsters. If that was the case, though, you got to say, like, unfortunately, the dude did fail at that because his gangster mentality really heavily inspired a lot more of the gangster stuff to happen. Okay, now you can say, well, that's because he passed away before he was allowed to actually go through with his plan, and that could be the case. But I would want to see like evidence for that kind of thing, right? You know what I'm saying? So that might be in his book, though. That's why I'm going to go ahead and link that book in the description so you guys can maybe give it a read if that sounds interesting because it certainly sounds interesting to me. Maybe one of these days I will give that book a read myself because I do love reading about this CIA stuff, man. It's when it comes to conspiracy theories, it seems like the CIA shit is almost always true. Like 8 out of 10 times, maybe 7, 8 out of 10 times, CIA conspiracy theories end up being fucking true, or at least having an element of truth to them, right? There is some elements of truth to what he's talking about here when it comes to, like, say, I forget the name of the operation, but essentially like Ricky Freeway Ross and the CIA giving Ricky Ross cocaine to cook down into crack and then create the Los Angeles 1990s crack epidemic, right? That was definitely a CIA thing. Now, again, from the small amount that I've read, it wasn't like a CIA project. It was guys in the CIA who, after taking out several groups in the Mendelin cartel, had access to copious amounts of cocaine and wanted to earn some extra money. One of them was a cousin of Ricky Freeway Ross, not Rick Ross the rapper, the actual Rick Ross, Ricky Freeway Ross. And I think he just had an interview with Joe Rogan, by the way. He's just out of prison recently. And Ricky Ross said, well, yeah, I can't sell coke in the ghetto, but I can cook it down into crack, and we can sell crack then. And he created the 1990s crack epidemic single-handedly because the CIA, the guys from the CIA were sending him so much crack. Later on, it is proven too that the journalist who blew that story open ended up getting murdered. It's still to this day claimed to be a suicide. But if I remember correctly, it was a suicide by shooting himself twice in the back of the head, kind of a suicide. Yeah, the journalist that blew up the whole CIA involvement with the crack epidemic. It's in that movie, Kill the Messenger, with not Jeremy Irons, not Jeremy Piven. Fuck, what is that guy's name? Jeremy Reiner. Jeremy Reiner. Jeremy Reiner is in that movie. He plays the journalist that ends up breaking open the story about Ricky Ross and his connection to the CIA and the CIA giving him the cocaine that started the crack epidemic and that guy did end up getting killed very shortly after blowing that story open. I think it was for the Rolling Stones, even if I'm not mistaken. You'll have to watch it. It's a really good movie. Very interesting, really sad, though. That journalist's story is horrifically sad. But that's the thing, is the CIA is not above doing shit like what this guy is talking about here, okay? Now, that doesn't mean he did it, okay? But that doesn't mean that he's correct or that the CIA did do those things. But the CIA has been proven to do things that are just as bad and in some cases even worse than what this guy is talking about right here. But I have heard this conspiracy theory. This is more or less what I've heard myself, was that Tupac was not being used, but Tupac was attempting to create a career where he fought against the government. The government needed black communities to remain in a point of poverty. And so the CIA went about discrediting Tupac in any way that they could, which would involve the sexual assault allegation. That's why I said I'm not going to bring it up, because that's a pretty controversial topic of conversation. We can bring it up maybe on a different stream. But in essence, Tupac's claims he was 100% innocent. He never committed sexual assault against this woman, who actually claimed that he had been a part of a gang rape and that Tupac had gang raped her. And he claimed that absolutely didn't happen. There was no evidence that had happened. Instead, he got arrested, or he got officially charged and convicted of sexual assault for touching her butt. That's the only thing they could prove, is that he had squeezed her butt on a video, and then she had came into court and said, yeah, that right there, I did not say he could do that. That was non-consensual, and that's what they got him on the sexual assault charge for, was squeezing her ass on a video. And so he claimed that dives into this guy's claims, or at least the way that I've heard it told in recording studios, is that that was actually the CIA that paid that woman to set that all up so that they could get him thrown in prison for something so horrible that his fans would drop him. Like, they're trying to get him put in prison for gang rape, and nobody would want to listen to him if that was the case, if he got convicted of that, you know? So that was supposedly what that was about, right? So I've heard this conspiracy before, thought I'd throw it out there. Again, we're talking about the conspiracy theories regarding Tupac still being alive. This one, Tupac unfortunately did pass away, and it was all set up by the CIA, right? So
as his career
that's this guy's conspiracy theory. Check out his book if you want to learn more, right? Maybe there'll be some legitimate proof in there. We're going to go on to the next "Is he alive?" conspiracy theory. Tupac Shakur faked his own death and fled medical center after drive-by shooting to live with the Navajo tribe in New Mexico. New documentary claims. Okay. Second customary burp of the stream. I'm doing pretty good for a stream burp. So we're 2 hours, almost 2 hours into this bitch, and I've only burped twice. It's a new record for me. It's because I haven't eaten anything today. A new documentary claims rapper Tupac Shakur is still alive after faking his own death and fleeing to New Mexico, where he is being protected by the Navajo tribe. The film alleges Tupac escaped from the University Medical Center in Las Vegas after he was gunned down in 1996. Tupac Shakur was hit 4 times. I believe it was 5, but 4, sure. 25-year-old was struck in the chest, arm, and thigh by the 40 caliber rounds. The legendary musician died in the hospital from his wounds 6 days later, and the killer has never been caught, despite numerous theories over the identity. But filmmaker Rick Boss, not Rick Ross or Ricky Ross, Rick Boss, purports that Shakur did not pass away in the hospital and, in fact, sneaked out of the ward and fled to New Mexico to start a new life, right? So here, I think we're going to go into the video here in another instance. Here is Mr. Rick Boss. You can tell because he wears a hat with his name on it, like all gangsters do. That was a joke. I don't know anybody who puts their own name on a hat and wears it, but it is what it is. Whatever. Dude's trying to market himself, yeah. So this is a little bit of an interview where they talk to him about it. We're going to actually watch the video to his documentary that's supposed to come out and see what he has to say about it. By the way, I do want to mention that this article, the Daily Mail, was written in February 2020. Okay, so here is the advertisement. There's the word I'm looking for. Advertisement for Tupac Alive, The Great Escape from UMC. This is the interview with Rick Boss and Richard Garcia. So this is him talking about becoming a Navajo tribe member. Let's take a listen.
Hello, is this Richard Garcia?
Hey, what's up, man?
What's up, Richard? This is Wired Up.
Yeah. Ready?
Yeah, no, yeah, and we're right here with Rick right here too.
What's up, man? What's up, guys? I'm fine.
So how you guys doing today?
We're doing good, man. Doing good. A little bit of busy, you know, right?
Hold on. This is an hour-long interview. I did not realize that. Okay, this I'm just going to link for you guys. I'm not going to watch a whole hour or try to scoot around the video to figure out where they actually give us some info. We're going to go back to the article and see what he has to say. I will link that video in the description, though, if you're so inclined to watch it. So, in any case, yeah. So let's see what Rick Boss here has to say. Because what he's saying is going to be out of that interview that I just linked in the description, okay? So, in the explosive new documentary, Tupac, The Great Escape from UMC, Tupac Shakur, Boss claims that's kind of oddly worded. Boss claims the rapper is being protected by the Navajo tribe. Boss says the Native American tribe, who lived throughout New Mexico, Arizona, Colorado, and Utah, offer a perfect hideaway as FBI agents are not allowed on their land. The filmmaker alleges the rapper arrived in Las Vegas for fight night and was told of a planned hit on him. That was when the escape plan involved planting a double in Knight's BMW and a strategic aerial exit by helicopter was born. Boss told KTNV after the shooting, "What's next? This movie is about Tupac actually escaping from UMC here in Vegas and relocating to New Mexico. Getting protection from the Navajo tribe when certain FBI agents are looking for you, they are going to block the airport. So you can't travel out, so the best way to escape is through helicopter, private helicopter to another state." Witnesses to the Vegas shooting described seeing a white Cadillac pull alongside the BMW. Suge Knight, who went into Death Row Records, survived the attack. Yep. Many conspiracy theories have spread since the shooting of Shakur. Boss added, "When certain FBI agents are looking for you, they are going to block the airport." So, okay, well, they already repeated that. Boss said the documentary, which comes out next year, will focus on the rapper's circle of family and friends and claims it is not a work of fiction. He added, "You can write a fiction. You can write a fiction story, but this is not a fiction. This is facts through certain people I know. Let's just say Mr. Shakur, the family is aware of the movie and they're okay with the title. So that should tell you more or less what's going on." It comes after a private investigator claimed that there is proof that rapper Tupac is alive and well and living in Belize. The filmmaker also leaked a photo of the rapper pictured after 1996 on his YouTube channel and is convinced that it is the real thing. Last December, a so-called Tupac body double was allegedly spotted at the MGM Grand in Las Vegas. Around 6 months after the death of Shakur, fellow West Coast rapper B.I.G. gunned down at 24 years old in Los Angeles. No one has ever been charged in either cases. We know that's not the case nowadays, right? So I'll go ahead. That gives us a little info on this guy. I'm going to be honest with you. That's about all the info we have on this guy. And that's all the info we have in his movie because it was supposed to come out. Tupac, The Great Escape from UMC, was supposed to come out in 2021, and it still has not. It's not anywhere. If you go to look for it in Google, we try to Google Tupac, The Great, if I can spell Great Escape from UMC. It's just this video. It's just videos about it. It's videos about it's the official movie trailer. Oh, well, that's the official movie trailer. That's what I was meaning to click on earlier. And then articles about it. There is no movie. No movie ever happened, so it never came out. So you can watch the trailer here. Let's take a look at that.
I heard they're gonna try to put a hit out on me.
Get the fuck out of here.
I know they're gonna try to kill me.
Yeah, motherfuckers are gonna try.
So you gotta have Devin Clark sitting in Suge Knight's BMW, the front seat. I don't even want Suge to know that we did the switch.
Okay, I don't know if you guys picked up on there, but this guy right here with the gun, that's Big Rick Boss in the elevator talking with Shakur, which more than likely that's a Shakur body double. But in any case, yeah, so there's the movie trailer. Cutie Pie says because the CIA is censoring it. That's why. Well, that could be. That could be. You know, out of all these conspiracy theories, the CIA killing him is the one that actually seems the most realistic. But CIA could be censoring it maybe for his protection. Yeah, they're like, no, we got him. Although, I don't know, because if that was the case, then you think the CIA would actually be like, oh no, if we have him, then yeah, it would be good for people to think he's in New Mexico with the Navajo tribe, right? Because then they're not looking at us. So, hold on. Did my audio? Okay. Audio's still here. Had a weird warble in the headphones. But yeah, so this movie never did drop, and judging by the trailer, I'm going to assume it was because it was a shitty movie. I mean, it looks like a giant reenactment, is all it is. And I know I said in my last Conspiracy Theory Thursday that I'm going to play these conspiracy theories up and let you guys wonder for yourselves, which you guys can. I didn't release anything saying that, hey, I didn't say nothing about Mr. Nice and Cuba not being real, right? You see what I'm saying? I didn't come out and give you guys info to prove that it's not real. Okay, well, thank you, cutie. You think he could still be alive. So I'm still doing a decent job then. You know, the only one that I really have to say I highly doubt is this one right here. Just because the silliness, even the things that he says in his interview is, yeah, well, it could be. I mean, to be honest, like, here, let me pull this over here. Maybe he was so over his thug life that he ran away. Well, you know, it would be really hard to get out of that life, right? Like, you almost feel like that might be the only thing you could do is run away. So, you know, absolutely, very well could. This guy says in the interview, you can write fiction. You can write a fiction story, but this is not a fiction. This is facts through certain people I know. Well, yeah, and you can say that. You can say that, but that's not the same thing as proof, dickhead, right? Then he says, let's just say Mr. Shakir, I believe he's trying to say Mrs. Shakir, the family is aware of the movie and they're okay with the title. So that should tell you more or less what's going on. No, no, it doesn't tell us at all what's going on, motherfucker. Just because their mom said, yeah, we can't stop you from making this fucking movie because legally we can't stop you does not mean they're okay with you making this movie. It doesn't mean that they agree with everything you're saying. Like, I don't know. It just seems like some con artist bullshit to me. So he bit off more than he could chew, so he ran away. Yeah, that very well could be. Yeah, if he, you know, got involved with some serious gangs and was like, fuck, dude, like, people are trying to kill me left and right, which technically they were. He got shot once before, right? They could absolutely, you know, he could have been like, well, this is the only way to go about it. We still have one more conspiracy theory to go over, and as in regards to him being alive, okay. Suge Knight's son clarifies claims that Tupac Shakur is alive and well and living in Malaysia. Yeah. So, over the past year, Suge Jacob Knight Jr., son of Notorious Death Row Records mogul Suge Knight, has made multiple claims on Instagram posts that one of Death Row's most legendary artists, Tupac Shakur, is living in Malaysia and working on new music. Back in October 2018, Knight Jr. played into a long-running conspiracy theory that Shakur didn't really die as a result of his wounds in 1996, posting, Tupac is alive and he never left us, along with, presumably photoshopped, pictures of Shakur posing with 50 Cent and Beyonce. He also implied that the Illuminati had silenced Shakur and were now after him for saying too much. So now, it isn't the CIA that wants him dead. Okay. It isn't the FBI trying to get on Navajo land. The Illuminati is after this guy, probably because he used the word Killuminati on his record. They were pretty upset with that. They're like, bro, that's trademarked. So here's the posts right here. Anyways, I believe he was alive. Since I'm Las Vegas, where I reside, when Pac alleged died several times throughout the news. I'm not going to try to read this guy's mumbo-jumboed ass horrible grammar. Like, I'm not even going to try to fuck with it. Here's another picture of Tupac with Beyonce that he posted. And then a picture of Tupac and 50 Cent. Okay, and by the way, these two guys were not in the same era of rap. Okay, 50 Cent was not getting big when Tupac was already big. Okay, that wasn't a thing. So the likelihood that these two would be chilling together like this, very unlikely. Very, very unlikely. Knight Jr. doubled down on these allegations in 2019, posting that Shakur was back in the studio with new music coming and announcing, I need the hottest producer to work on a project for Pac. Now the 23-year-old Knight Jr. is starring in the new VH1 reality show Love and Listings, which chronicles his burgeoning career in the high-stakes LA real estate game. Naturally, viewers are wondering if Knight Jr. will clarify his claims on this show, or if Tupac will even make some sort of appearance. Sitting with Yahoo Entertainment to promote the docuseries, Jacob recalls the internet-breaking reaction where he first posted his Tupac is alive proclamations. That's why they're taking pics together? You'll have to clarify, what does that mean? That's why they're taking pics together. Oh, yeah, but they're all a part of the Illuminati. That's why they're taking pics together. Okay, my bad. I didn't see your first message. Yeah. So, well, maybe they could be all a part of the Illuminati. I mean, again, when I mean with like 50 Cent, 50 Cent was not this age when Pac was this age, right? So, I mean, I don't know. Pac does look a little older in that photo, you know? So, I don't know, maybe. Like, but this looks like 50 Cent right when he was blowing up. And, you know, unless, yeah, Tupac was alive, he wouldn't have met Tupac at that time in his life. He was supposed to be long gone and passed away. So, oh, maybe if 50 Cent's a member of the Illuminati, we need to work on those hand signals, cutie, so we can get into this shit. We can go hang out with Tupac. So, we're going to get into this actual interview that they're talking about here. I believe I got a video of it, so we're going to check that out here in a second. But first, we got a TMZ video of Suge Knight suggesting Pac may still be alive in Ice-T's investigation show on Fox in 2017. So this is in 2017, right after Suge Knight's son talks about Pac being alive. Suge Knight comes out and talks about it.
When Pac died, if he really did, you know, Suge Knight.
So this is Suge Knight talking to Ice-T.
When Pac died.
This is Ice-T, for those of you that don't know. Gangster rapper, right around the same time that Tupac was coming up. Tupac, Ice-T, and Ice Cube, right? No relation. They were both featured on Tupac's second studio album, Strict. Here, let's go to YouTube. Okay, check it out.
If he really did, you know. Suge Knight suggests that Tupac might still be alive. There's a new special coming out on Fox on Sunday called Who Shot Biggie and Tupac.
Oh, I know about this. This is Soledad O'Brien.
Yes, Soledad O'Brien and Ice-T are interviewing people who were around at the time, getting new information we've never heard about it.
This actually sounds super interesting.
Yeah, so Soledad and Ice-T did a phone interview with Suge Knight because he's in LA County Jail. And he says, I mean, when I left that hospital, me and Pac was laughing and joking. So I don't see how somebody can turn from doing well to doing bad.
So you seriously think that he might still be alive?
I'm gonna tell you this, Pac, you never know.
Oh, there you go. Well, remember we saw that guy in like New Orleans or wherever it was?
Yeah, who looked just like him?
He sure looked like Tupac to me.
Yeah, but it couldn't have been because it looked like Tupac in 1996. Like he would have aged since then if he faked his death.
That's a good point.
He wasn't frozen in time. He's still.
Yeah, that's a good retort. It's pretty solid.
I'm gonna tell you this, Pac, you never know.
Okay, so that's TMZ playing up the segment with Ice-T and Soledad discussing with Suge Knight. So that was Suge Knight on the phone while he was in jail, by the way. They got that phone call while he was in jail. I forgot what he was in jail for that time because Suge Knight's been in jail plenty of times. So that was after his son came out and said that he believed Tupac was alive in Malaysia. Here is the interview. This is Suge Knight's son here now, talking with Yahoo Entertainment about his clarifying his statements. So we're going to watch this interview, see what he has to say. Okay. Over here. Yeah. Check it out.
So in January, you posted a couple Instagram things that sort of implied that Tupac was alive and in Malaysia.
Yeah.
And also, I think you said some things maybe last year as well. And of course, that, you know, a lot. I'm curious, what was that?
I already know, trust me, because when I said it, the whole world stopped moving. Like, everybody's like, what's going on? Like, I went and got 200,000 followers within 2 days. And I was like, wow, like, this is crazy. Germany is calling me. I don't even speak German, you know, so I don't even know what to do. Pretty much, the reason why I did it, it's a purpose for it, and you actually have to tune into the show to see why. Okay. It's a real good message why I did it. It's like, it makes the world reflect on ourselves. Like, wow, okay.
Do you believe he's alive and in Malaysia?
You just have to tune into the show for my answer.
Oh, come on.
I'm telling you, you just have to tune into the show for my answer. Like, I don't want to ruin it's an important message.
I'm gonna be real with you. I watched this interview before this show, so I knew this is coming, but yeah, that's what it is.
Tupac's my godfather. So,
Yeah.
so that's all I have to say. It's just that just tune in and just support us.
Well, let me ask you, because you said you got all the followers and people in Germany calling you. Did you get any flack for that? Were people thinking, you know, that you were joking or being disrespectful or anything like that?
Of course, you know, I meant no disrespect to that man's family. You know, that man's family is my family, you know.
How did you feel about the Tupac hologram at Coachella a few years ago?
I thought it was dope. I thought it was it's a step into the future. We're getting closer and closer to the future. It's 2019. I expect.
That was pretty fucking incredible. That's a hologram right there. Yo, that's the real Snoop Dogg rapping with a hologram Tupac. They did a damn good job. They did another hologram of Whitney Houston. I remember that was also really good.
Expected to see some flying cars.
When the hologram happened, people, you know, lost their minds. I was there. And in general, people just really, you know, want to believe
that the man is alive.
That he's alive. Do you have any thoughts on why, you know, almost 25 years later, people, you know, why his legacy is as strong as ever?
Oh, it's his lyrics. His lyrics change people. You know, it's what he stood for. And that's pretty much why Death Row Records and everybody else around that, they all played their role. You know, from the DJ Quicks, from his, you know, incredible sounds, Snoop Dogg's incredible sound, Dr. Dre's beats, productions, my father's ambition to be the best mogul in the industry at that time. So it was just everybody played their role, and they were just the best at it. My father told me that Tupac never left the studio, never, and I believe it because he has so many songs that you could drop an album today of his.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that is true. The dude had such a massive output. When he was alive, he was constantly recording. As we saw, you know, 7 studio albums after death that were released. So that's pretty incredible. Anyway, they just released Flying Cars, like Cutie Pie says. What's this now? Just released Flying Cars, huh? Like actual flying cars, like we have flying cars now? When did this happen? Today? You seen it? Where did you see it? You saw it on the same show where they exposed Tupac for being alive, yeah. A few months ago. Oh, I'm that far behind the flying car trend, yeah. Geesh, I never heard about this. Sounds like a good Conspiracy Theory Thursday video. Oh, they released a prototype. Oh, that's kind of interesting. I'll have to check a video out on that. That's pretty cool. I didn't even know that was a thing. Yeah, I don't know where the hologram stuff went because that was like a really big thing they were going to start doing was taking artists that were passed away and doing hologram concerts. And that would have been pretty cool, you know, but I don't know what exactly happened with that, to be honest. Okay. We're going to jump into the last living suspect in 1996 drive-by shooting of Tupac Shakur indicted in Las Vegas on murder charge. Okay, so yeah, like I said, new information, 2023, the man who shot Pac is finally arrested. If y'all didn't hear, a man who prosecutors say ordered the 1996 killing of rapper Tupac Shakur was arrested and charged with murder Friday in a long-awaited breakthrough in one of hip-hop's most enduring mysteries. Dwayne Keefe D. Davis has long been known to investigators as one of 4 suspects identified early in the investigation. He isn't the accused gunman, but was described as the group's ringleader by authorities Friday. Okay, so I lied to you. It's not the guy who shot him, the guy who had him ordered his death. At a news conference and in court, in Nevada, you can be charged with a crime, including murder, if you help someone commit the crime. Dwayne Davis was the shot caller for this group of individuals that committed this crime, said Las Vegas Police Homicide Lieutenant Jason Johansson, and he orchestrated the plan that was carried out. Davison himself has admitted in interviews and in his 2019 Tell Our memoir, Compton Street Legend, that he provided the gun used in the drive-by shooting. Authorities said Friday that Davis' own public comments revived the investigation. Wow. So this dude literally went out, talked shit, and that's why he's getting arrested. That's fucking... That is classic. Oh, fuck. Bro, what are you doing, bro? You just played yourself. That's crazy. Oh, man. Okay, so he's 60 years old now. Was arrested early Friday. This is in 2023. While on a walker near his home on the outskirts of Las Vegas, hours before prosecutors announced in court that a Nevada grand jury had indicted the self-described gangster on one count of murder with deadly weapon. He is due in court next week. The grand jury also voted to add a sentencing enhancement to the murder charge for gang activity that could add up to 20 additional years if convicted. Wow. 60 years old and you're getting your ass thrown in prison for the rest of your life because you talk some shit. Hundreds of pages of transcript released Friday provide a view into the first month of grand jury proceedings, which began in late July with testimony from former associates of Davis, friends of Shakur, and a slate of retired police officers involved in the case early on. Their testimony painted a picture for the jurors of a deep escalating rift between Shakur's music label Death Row Records and Bad Boy Records, which had ties to Davis and represented Shakur's rap rival Biggie Smalls. It started the whole East Coast-West Coast rivalry that primarily defined the hip-hop scene during the mid-1990s, one of Davis's former associates testified. The first ever arrest in the case came after Las Vegas police in mid-July raided Davis's home in the nearby city of Henderson for items they described at the time as concerning the murder of Tupac. Davison denied in an interview request Friday from jail, and court records don't list an attorney who can comment on his behalf. Phone and text messages to Davis and his wife on Friday and in the months since on July 17th, search weren't returned. In a statement Friday, Set Shakur, the rapper's sister, described the arrest as a victory. This is no doubt a pivotal moment. The silence of the past 27 years surrounding this case has spoken loudly in our community. It is important to me that the world, the country, the justice system, and our people acknowledge the gravity of the passing of this man, my brother, my mother's son, my father's son. On the night of September 7, 1996, Shakur was in a shot dead. Davis, in his memoir, said he was in the front passenger seat of the Cadillac and had slipped a gun into the back seat from where he said the shots were fired. He implicated his nephew, Orlando Baby Lane Anderson, saying he was the one of the two people in the back seat. Anderson, a known rival of Shakur, had been involved in a casino brawl with the rapper shortly before the shooting. Little did anyone know that this incident right here would ultimately lead to the retaliatory shooting and the death of Tupac Shakur, said Joe Hansen, the police lieutenant. Anderson died 2 years later. He denied any involvement in Shakur's death. Well, he did it right. You're not supposed to brag about that shit, for fuck's sakes. Emails seeking comments from two lawyers who have previously represented Knight were not immediately returned. Knight was grazed by a bullet, yada, 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 on the night of, there it is. He is serving a 28-year prison sentence in California for an unrelated voluntary manslaughter charge. That's Suge Knight, by the way. That's where he was at when he was on the phone with Ice-T. On the night of July 17th, Las Vegas police quietly surrounded the home where Davis lives with his wife, Paula Clemens. Police lapel video obtained by the Associated Press showed SWAT officers detaining a man and his wife outside the home lit up by a swirl of red and blue lights after announcing their presence on a bullhorn. The couple's faces are blurred. Police reported collecting multiple computers, a cell phone, a hard drive, a Vibe magazine that featured Shakur, several .40 caliber bullets, 2 tubs containing photographs, and a copy of Davis's memoir. Greg Cadding, a retired LA police detective who spent years investigating the Shakur killing and wrote a book about it, said he is not surprised by the Davis arrest. He put himself squarely in the middle of the conspiracy, Cadding said, adding that Davis himself gave LA police the ammunition and leverage to move forward. Yeah, the dude opened his fucking mouth about it. Holy fuck. Cadding said he had also anticipated the murder charge because Davis's public comments showed the crime was premeditated. All the other direct conspirators or participants are all dead, Cadding said. Keith D is the last man standing among the individuals that conspired to kill Pac. So, there you have it. And as of 2005, I don't actually think there's actually been a conviction on this. I believe the court case is still in, what was his name? Hefty? Where was it? It was here. Damn it, balls. I lost it. Okay, hold on. Let me find his name again. Keith D. All right. So original. Keith D. Davis conviction. I don't believe we have a conviction on him yet. The court is still ongoing. Was convicted by LA Vegas grand jury. Oh no, wow, just last month on April 11th of his involvement in a prison brawl. The charges included battery by a prisoner and challenges to fight. That's a prison. What? Oh, he was, okay, yep, so, all right. Multiple charges. So this is Mr. Keith D right here. While in Tupac awaiting for his while in prison awaiting for his conviction on the Tupac murder, got in a fight in prison. Well, yeah, I'm sure there's a lot of guys in that prison who really like Tupac. and he just got convicted for that. Okay. So that's all he's been convicted guilty for. He's in jail awaiting his conviction on the Tupac murder and got in a prison brawl and was at least convicted for that. And that was just last month, April. Wow. Or no, wait, that's this month, is it? What fucking month is this, yo? May. It's May. Okay. Whew, I thought I was going crazy. Yeah. Just last month, he was convicted of a prison brawl. So he hasn't been convicted on Tupac's death yet. But yeah, the story he's helping to put out there, the story he's saying, yeah, is he was an associate of Bad Boy Records. And we don't know. This might end up being like, you know, Eminem and some other people have said, Puff Daddy was the one that had Tupac killed. It sounds like Mr. Keith D here was an associate of Puff Daddy's. His nephew, Orlando Anderson, was a member of the Southside Crips. He was the one that Tupac got in a fist fight with that night in Las Vegas. Keith D and his nephew went and gunned down Tupac. Maybe potentially because Puff Daddy said something, but it seems more like because he got in a fight with his nephew. Because Tupac got in a fist fight with the wrong motherfucker, he got gunned down. And that definitely happens, man. You know, you no matter how crazy you are, there's always somebody crazier than you, right? Very unfortunate that would be a reason that such a cultural icon passed away, right? Real big bummer. But there's somebody else who has something to say about this. Tupac's father believes his murder was set up by the U.S. government. I don't think Orlando Anderson had anything to do with the death of my son. This is in 2023. Tupac's father, Billy Garland, agrees with the long-running theories about the U.S. government being involved in his son's death. He spoke on how the situation unfolded in a recent interview. Garland appeared on The Art of Dialogue and spoke on the night of Pac's death in a clip posted on Sunday. This is June 11th, 2023. He believes his son should not have fought Orlando Anderson in the lobby of the MGM after the Mike Tyson and Bruce Seldon's boxing match. Pac just got hyper and he thought he had to lead, Garland said. If you notice in the video, everybody was following him around. He's the moneymaker. Death row was a $100 million thing, but everybody's following Tupac. Everything he did, everybody attached themselves to him, and he felt obligated to prove that I'm going to be your leader. Billy Garland continued, talking about how Anderson's uncle, Keith D., confessed to the U.S. government that he was there when Orlando Anderson shot and killed Tupac. This is when Garland intimated that Keith and the government had agreed to a deal prior. The government gave him the deal. Tupac was being tailed by the government the night of his assassination. He was being tailed by the government while in the studio. That's a known fact, Garland said. So I don't know this guy, Keith. I don't know. Maybe he had to say that to get out of some issue. I don't know. I just know it looked like a setup to me, he stated. Somebody told this guy to stand there with the death row thing, and it pursued to what we had, but I don't think Orlando Anderson had anything to do with the death of my son. Not at all. So, Pac's dad does not believe this. Tupac's dad says, fuck that. The government had him killed. So, maybe the government had Keith D. kill, and maybe even his nephew, Orlando Anderson, kill Tupac that night. But that's what Pac's dad says. And I wanted to end the note. I wanted to end the stream on an uplifting good note. And as customary, you can always trust on Snoop Dogg to supply that. So let's hear what Snoop Dogg has to say about Tupac being alive.
Ice-T did an investigative TV special to find...
I'm going to throw you to the YouTube screen.
Biggie and Tupac's killer. And he spoke to Suge Knight, who alluded that Tupac may possibly be alive. What you think?
That's good TV. You know, my homeboy is rest in peace, you know what I'm saying? And at the same time, I know people still want him to be here. And they love him so much to where his legacy, you know, it overwhelms everything. But at the same time, you gotta know and understand when God takes you home, he takes you home, and that's where you are.
Okay. So that is Snoop Dogg's thoughts on the matter. Tupac is dead. He's gone. He got called home, and that's where he's at. But, you know, he's alive in spirit. There's another really good interview of Snoop Dogg talking about Tupac's death, saying, hey, yeah, he's still alive. He's alive in the hearts of all of his fans, which is pretty tear-jerking and nice and a sweet thing to say. Snoop Dogg is pretty dope, man. It's crazy to see how Snoop Dogg evolved. You know, if anybody's a fan of rap out there, which you probably are if you're watching this stream, you're probably a fan of rap. It's pretty incredible to see how Tupac evolved, or Snoop Dogg evolved from the gangster Snoop Dogg to how Snoop Dogg is now, right? Cooking with, what was her name? Martha Stewart in a cooking show. uh, and, you know, saying some very insightful things. That's pretty incredible. Out of all of them, man, Snoop Dogg really won, right? He was the real winner of all of those 90s rappers. Ice Cube became a successful actor. Dr. Dre, obviously, wildly successful when he produced Eminem. But Snoop Dogg, man, became like the old school wisdom, OG of wisdom. Snoop knows he's alive, but he's just saying that because he wants his friend to live in peace and stop people from trying to find him. Well, that could absolutely be true too. If there's one person that Tupac probably stayed in contact with if he was alive, it would definitely be Snoop Dogg, right? You know, who wouldn't want to keep smoking weed with Snoop Dogg if you could, yeah? So, could be possible. I don't know. But we're out of conspiracies. That's my Conspiracy Theory Thursday. That's all the conspiracies that I can find and all the proof that I can find on those conspiracy theories. At least those are the biggest ones. Somebody said, oh, yeah, he's in Belize. And all I could find on that was like a tweet. So it wasn't really worth putting in there, especially since other things I looked at discussed that that possibility. So we didn't really need to dive too deep into that. But those are the main conspiracy theories, at least regarding him still being alive. Now, there's a lot more in the conspiracy theory realm of who killed him, if Bad Boy Records and Puff Daddy were behind it, or if it was in fact Suge Knight that was behind it. We'll never know. But we might maybe jump into that on a different Conspiracy Theory Thursday. But for now, for us today, those are all the conspiracy theories regarding if he's still alive, right? He's with the Navajo tribe, according to Mr. Rick Boss. He is being protected by the CIA, according to some people on the internet. He is in Malaysia, according to Suge Knight's son, although I gotta be honest, I don't know if I'm exactly believing Suge Knight's son on this. It really seems like that was a really poor, bad taste publicity stunt, a publicity stunt and bad taste to help market his new show. I mean, you saw him in the interview, he said right there, like, do you believe he's alive? You gotta watch my show. Like, oh, come on. Because, you know, nobody gives a fuck about Suge Knight's son selling real estate. Nobody wants to watch that TV show. So that was his way of selling his TV show. And I imagine Suge Knight, again, he came out after his son said it and said, yeah, Tupac can be alive. Well, probably because his son said it and it was a way for him to help out his show, right? According to Mr. Nice, he was alive in Cuba. Mr. Nice never did give us any confirmation of that, but he did fake his own death to prove that it's a possibility. So, well, there's always that. Okay. You know, we're still awaiting the documentary from Mr. Rick Boss about the Navajo tribe. That hasn't happened yet. In my opinion, the more credible conspiracy theories, if you're going to go with them, are going to be the CIA or the government had Tupac killed, right? I could believe that one before I believe any of the others. But it's fun to think about. There, you know, Snoop Dogg does touch on it. There is a reason why so many people want Tupac to be alive, right? I mean, one, if it did come out that he was still alive, that would be insane. That would be so fucking crazy. That would be the biggest conspiracy theory come true of them all. Like, that would beat out Epstein Island. It really would, right? Because, I mean, it would be a happy end. Tupac, I think a big reason why people want Tupac to be alive is because he didn't get a happy ending. And a lot of people really, really wanted to see this guy who is such a massive cultural icon get the happy ending that they felt he deserved. You know, same with Biggie. A lot of people, and there's no conspiracy theories about Biggie being alive, but Biggie's death was a huge issue for a lot of people in the a lot of rap fans as well, because again, he was a cultural phenomenon, and people wanted to see these two guys who rose to fame so quickly, so fast, so young. They want to see them have a good ending to their story, and it would be a really good ending to Tupac's story to see that he had faked his own death and was alive and well and kicking it and smoking weed with Snoop Dogg, right? That would be really cool to think about. So, totally get why people believe in these kinds of things. It is an enjoyable conspiracy theory to look into. It's entertaining. I guess I wouldn't say enjoyable, right? Because people did die in the making of this conspiracy theory. But there is a reason why people enjoy thinking that Tupac is still alive. So there you have it. There's my 2 cents. There's all the current information on the situation. We'll have to stay in touch and see what happens with the Keith D situation, see how that unfolds. Yeah, people people did die allegedly. Well, there you go. Yeah, thanks for correcting me, Cutie Pie. Allegedly. Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty sure everybody's pretty solid that Biggie is dead, but yeah, Tupac might have allegedly passed away. So, but anyways, that does it for me. We hit a good solid 2 hours 14 minutes, so we got a lot more out of that than I thought we would. So that's kind of nice. I thought that would be a really short video there, but I'm glad that we got something out of it. So anyways, if you watched the live stream, thank you for your support. Cutie Pie, thank you for your support and always coming in here and chatting with me. I always appreciate it. To anybody else who watched, thank you. I appreciate your support as well. If you checked this video out on YouTube and stayed all the way through those 2 hours and 14 minutes, I appreciate you for your support. And if you liked the video, please consider giving it a like and subscribing to the channel for more content like this. If you like conspiracy theories, I got a whole playlist on my channel about conspiracy theories. You can go check some of those out. Some are better than others. The DIA one is a really good episode, so definitely go and check that out for some really fun and enjoyable conspiracy theories. In the future, I'm going to be doing a lot more serious and more controversial conspiracy theories. I'm working on some of those right now. I won't be streaming Thursday, so, I won't be streaming next Thursday and won't be uploading any videos on conspiracy theories. It will be the Thursday after that, the first Thursday of June, right? Because it's May. Yeah, the first Thursday of June will be our next conspiracy theory Thursday, and that will be about the Titanic sinking. So there's a whole bunch of conspiracy theories on whether or not the Titanic actually sunk, and we're going to go over all of those, right? Got other interesting conspiracy theories set out for next month. I got all of my next months right here. Adrenochrome is going to be probably my first big controversial one, the adrenochrome conspiracy theory. If you don't know what that is, don't look it up. Just come watch my show about it. We got the smiley face murder theory, for some reason became kind of a controversial one, but it's kind of entertaining, really enjoyable, pretty spooky too. Got a lot of spooky stuff in that one. And then I'm going to do another conspiracy theories that were true video next month. So stay tuned for that as well. Okay, and so yeah, that'll all be coming up next month on Conspiracy Theory Thursdays. If you enjoy the channel, maybe consider checking out my live stream on Twitch. I stream, I have been streaming at 7 p.m. every night, but that's going to switch next month. Starting the first Monday of June, I will be streaming at 11 a.m. over on Twitch. So come join me and Cutie Pie and sit and bullshit about whatever it is we're streaming about. Tomorrow will be my last day streaming at 7 p.m., at least for the next month. We're going to see how that new time slot goes. Tomorrow is Film Buff Fridays for anybody who's listening, and I will be discussing plot structure. It's all about plot. We're going back to the 8 elements of storytelling series that I'm doing. At least one Friday of every month, I talk about a certain element of storytelling, mostly for writers, but it does apply to film as well, but specifically for writers. And we're going to be going over the first element in depth, which is plot and plot structure. So that'll be tomorrow at 7 p.m. So hopefully I'll see you there. In the meantime, everybody take care. Have a wonderful rest of your night, and I will see you then. Peace.